Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of race number 1 in the Zwift Classics. We've got the Yorkshire Grand Prix, 3 laps for the men and the women for the C1s that we'll be covering across the board for all of the European zones. 3 races back to back to back to cover all of Europe. Super excited for this racing out here today. Dave, Nathan Garrett here, Dave Toll, obviously next to me. Dave, a quick little sit down there.
Yeah.
I was looking over just as everybody knows. Like, Dave, where's Dave? Okay, Dave's here. Good to go. Good to go.
You know what? I'll be honest. I got a new espresso machine, right? So I timed it poorly. I've got a hot espresso waiting for me.
You had it. So you actually don't have it though.
Yeah,
Oh,
it literally started to pour right as I came.
As a little bit of a behind the scenes, Nathan will just cover for an extra couple of minutes while Dave grabs the espresso when we're not on screen. Anyways, into the racing though. Here we go. It is Yorkshire Grand Prix. Some really awesome stuff over on World of Zwift about how you can try and win this race and take a look back at some really awesome iconic moments. We'll be doing that every single week throughout all of the Zwift Classics on World of Zwift. Dave just got back from an awesome interview with Jeff Kabush. That was really cool to see as well over on World of Zwift. And now we're jumping into a race where we've seen both those things actually take place in some way. We saw Kabush actually with Velocio on this course, absolutely dominating it. The Lion of Vias and things, absolutely iconic course.
I completely agree, Nathan. I'm going to say Richmond and Yorkshire. It makes sense. There's a reason why they were the circuits used for the World Championships. They make for great racing. And to be honest, they're challenging courses. This one, 3 laps out here today, it's going to be brutal. It comes up to 41K, but it's going to feel like a lot more than that when this one is done and dusted. So expect some great racing today. Saw some big names jumping in with the men and the women. That's really encouraging as well as we get our version of the classics going here. I really enjoyed watching you and Anna Russell doing coverage earlier. It really brought back that energy of I miss this kind of racing. So good to be back on Tuesdays.
Well, we're going to jump right on into the racing, and then we'll take a look at the course because the attacks are already on. And one of the main sections of this race is going to be Otley Road, and we are on it already. The men have jumped out on the C1s here. We got H. Toll. Interesting. Towel.
Yeah, close enough. I'll take credit. Yeah.
He's riding for Wahoo Lacole and off the front already trying to break things apart. Joe Power now as well trying to follow things up, it looks like, with the ODZ Kraken team with Mateus here trying to come across. Now this section, of course, if this pack stays together because of how incredibly steep it is on the other side, usually will roll everything back together. But Otley Road, interesting enough here, can snap people off the back. If you want to whittle it down, you make it hard at the front here. And as you can see already, quick flash out of Germany, spinning to try and get back on terms. And it doesn't look, maybe barely here, as we do have Worm here on the back here from Team SZ. So already, though, you can see things really strung out with this initial kick here.
Nathan, it really speaks to what this course is all about. You're not going to win the race here the first time up Otley, but you certainly could lose it. And exactly what you were talking about, you can see the split happening here now. Typically, it's interesting. It's different at the front than at the back, because at the front, if you've got a small gap rolling over the top and, as you said, into that steep drop, well, it almost always comes back with the power, the momentum, that snowball effect that you see. But at the back end, it's the exact opposite. It's really hard to chase back into that group. So if you miss that train, it might be lights out. This is going to be a brutal first 10 minutes of racing out here.
You can see the gaps already starting to open up here. You see the little profile. They are on that after 2 kilometer, 1.9 kilometer, a little bit after there. That's that downhill. And then they'll be heading on over toward the pastures of after Otley Road. And it does look like Worm now not going to be able to make the front group. Looks like he actually left went ahead and said, okay, enough is enough. I'm out of here. And it was like, I'm absolutely dropped at this point. So we'll have to go ahead and find the rest of the riders here real quickly. As our main rider said, I'm just not going to stay involved in this race. Our main rider, we are not involved in the race here. We do have the women's race, though, as well. We'll jump in with them as we go ahead and find the rest of the men's race. But it looks like Team SC said enough is enough from the team car. Now, here, this is going to be some familiar names. Leah Brewer here. Alice Lethbridge is here, and it looks like she's already got a KOM or a Queen of the Mountain jersey, maybe for her warm up. She went ahead and grabbed that real quick.
Hino rider, Alice Lethbridge, one of the highest quality riders that we have in esports. There she is right in the middle of your screen in that familiar Hino jersey. You know who else is out here? Marina Arce, the Argentinian on Aeonian. Some familiar names, Beast Mode, Nathan. This is great to see. Dana Wagner is out here along with her teammate Marla Marb. This is Carly Johan. I Race Like a Girl is out here today. Los Andes also. So this is a field that has some competitive riders. It looks like almost a selection has been made here. But there you go. Colclough. That's Charlotte there. Another one of the names that we certainly have gotten to know well. So might not be a huge group, Nathan, but a lot of quality right in front of us here. This is going to be a fantastic race.
Exactly kind of the same kind of thing we saw in the New Zealand race this morning, covered with Anna. A little bit smaller groups because partially from the numbers that we have in the summer, but also I think the reality of the AutoCat system then kind of parses things out a little bit more. And I think that we're going to have a lot of parity here to make some pretty awesome battles here, Dave. I think that the ability to go and the way that they're basing it is more off of skill sets and not just watts per kilogram. It's more off of what's your speed's been like on these courses, and it's really amazing how they're really pushing things forward.
I completely agree. Leave it to our friends at WTRL. They are cutting edge. I really have come over the last year and a half, Nathan, as I've been more involved, to have so much respect for the way that they've been approaching things. And this AutoCat, as you said, your average speed over a previous group of races, that really factors in, and it makes a lot of sense. Sure, that average speed is going to be, you'll see that number go up or down depending on the quality of the riders that you're racing with, but it also really does speak to where you're at. So good job, WTRL. And Nathan, AutoCat is something that for a lot of folks, if we were going to try to describe that, what really, I guess, you jump in, please, at any point here. But when you have people self-categorizing, it gets a little bit tricky. And for on both ends of the spectrum, you have some folks that rate themselves better than they actually are, and that's obviously not ideal. And then conversely, what you call sandbagging, where you have folks who have more talent than they want to admit, and sort of falls under the category of human nature, where there's some folks that would rather be a big fish in a small pond, or conversely, a small fish in a big pond, right? And if you're the kind of person that really likes the feeling of winning and isn't necessarily going to take the quality of competition as a huge factor for you, you call that sandbagging. And it's something that is not ideal in a community of racers, right? And so this auto categorizing helps sort of eliminate you're going to be biased, right? On what kind of a racer that you are. And as I said, you could look at it either direction or right down the middle. But when you use the WTRL's auto categorization, it sort of eliminates that, gets your opinion out of it, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it just takes the data sense? Then, right? You look
at
we're
the
just
data. Using facts. We're using
look at the facts. Here's the speed across the board. And, the one thing that I really like about that is no matter what, Prado, he's kicking it like crazy here. And this is actually a smart, so one section that I would say that you wouldn't usually want to attack into a downhill unless you think you can split something just a little bit off the back and roll it away. And as you can see here, Brewer, Leah, or maybe Lois might have been struggling a little bit. That's actually a tactic you don't see very often, but that was very smart, with that snowball.
Agreed. So I think, Nathan, really what you'd say is that's not a tactic that's going to win the bike race for you, but it could, maybe it does later, because eliminating sprinters out of a group, that might be the technique that you're using. Because if you can put a 5-second gap into someone who's struggling at the back, you might not see them later.
100%. And the more you whittle down on this course, the more opportunity you have to get away, because it is all about the roller coaster effect on the other side of each of every one of these climbs. The sharpness of the descents is what usually brings things back together from a breakaway point of view. But if you're a single or one or two riders off the back, it's what's going to separate you from the pack. So the reality of this course is those sharp descents, the Peloton has a huge benefit over any breakaway riders, as well as any riders that are slightly off the back. So, that little attack there from Parada could have put one or two in danger, whittled it down a little bit, which then gives more opportunity over the top of other climbs because perhaps that Peloton's not as large. Whittling this down is what it's all about today. We are looking through here, though. Rose Beast Mode has showed up, which is, I'm loving it that they've showed up today. And they are, in my opinion, most recently, one of the most committed and top esports teams. They are here across the board whenever we have a major event. It's really great to see them showing up and giving their all here giving a solid go at this with, I think, 3 riders here to try and take down this Zwift Classic number 1.
I couldn't agree with you more, though. Rose Beast Mode. Rose is a bicycle brand out of Germany, and Beast Mode, a team that really came on strong, and they backed it up. There's no doubt about it. They've got some very strong riders. Dana Wagner comes into this race as a real threat to win here today. That's going to be Marb, that we're with Marla Marb here. This team is, correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but I've got them as entirely German. I haven't seen any Swiss or Austrian athletes on the team. Now, I won't be surprised if I am wrong there, but absolutely a strong majority of the riders on the team. It's a German team, that's for sure. Taking a look now at another group that is clearly not just rolling along here, Nathan. They are racing their bikes out here today.
Yeah, just jumping into the King of the Mountain here with the men, as we do have Betts here also riding for Rose Beast Mode. Toyota, though, also a Cryo RDT, which is, again, one of the coolest things to see a new sponsor here for the Cryo RDT team that just popped up recently in the last month or so. Gel Power now on the attack, though, the Belgian rider here, 8.9 watts per kilogram coming from him at 186. This is the second kick on through the KOM. The first one usually not going to take it down. There is a first cross line fastest through segment on the day today. Moreno, no, trying to come over the top. Rose Beast Mode, here they come. It's going to be 2 riders from them. Towel there as well. And It's going to be Beast Mode. It looks like perhaps Towel now trying to come over the top from WLC. Will he make it happen? One more kick to the line. The speed is there, though, from the Wahoo Lacole team. Oh, maybe Nip. No, Theme is not going to be able to get it as WLC take it down. That little bit of a kick here from the aero power-ups is going to take some speed over the top, and this is where the elastic most likely will snap, as we do see this pack behind here. Is it large enough to roll on through? I'm not sure they're going to be able to trust it because I think there's enough riders up front to start rotating. This is going to be a struggle to get back on terms.
Yeah, you're going to see riders starting to fill in gaps here. I don't know that that's going to be enough to split things. That's going to be Steinman, the German rider that we're looking at here on Kirkmeyer up on the front. Well, this is going to be a tough next kilometer here for quite a few riders here. A lot of wind in the faces of riders here trying to close down gaps. This is Verdeyen that we're looking at for the Belgian GFT team here. Wow. So 41K of racing. We're not even a quarter of the way into the race, and it is absolute pandemonium here in Yorkshire. This course always brings out the best. There's no way to ease into this race here, Nathan. There is a lot for active racers to work with here. And you can see they're making the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think this downhill is going to be crucial at this point to get back on terms with this front group. You can see the left-hand turn into the sharp little, I think they get all the way up into a 10%, 9% actually gradient here at this point. And you carry speed all the way through, but it's the continuance after the speed slows down from that downhill that really is going to matter. And you can see up front, that's exactly what happened. As Sloan's now tries to come across, and it looks like he's going to do so. But I think the rest of the group that might not have quite those kind of orange numbers are going to get left in the dust. And we've got our initial split here at this point for sure. I think the chase group is going to form behind, but I'm not sure that they're ever going to see the front again. Theme now off the front here, it looks like trying to maybe, I don't think he's caring so much about the points for the sprint section. I think, well, maybe I see orange numbers now. I thought he was just trying to make things difficult, but now up in the 9 watts per kilogram, I think he's on full-on attack mode.
Yeah, Christopher has been one of the standout riders. There is no doubt. This is a massive talent that we're looking at here for the Rose Beast Mode team. As Christopher Thiem here with a small gap, you can see that the damage has been done. I'm really interested, Nathan, to see if that group right behind what we'd call the peloton at this point, or actually really Chase 1, it's starting to look like here, what they're going to be able to do. You can see that Alice Lethbridge there in the picture-in-picture is doing a tremendous job of making a really almost just a couple kilometers earlier in the course here. You can see she's making a similar move to Christopher here. Two really serious solo attacks at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Alice, and then we'll go picture in picture with the situation with Beast Mode off the front with Dean, because Alice just attacked up over the top of the Queen of the Mountain there. Got a little bit of a gap. It looks like either Lois or Leah Brewer there is trying to bring things back with Kolkloff there as well from Vision. And Polemi Brewer, it looks like Beast Mode now with Wagner, but there is a gap behind them at this point, 8 seconds. So it is going to be a lead of what looks to be about 8 riders, I think, that have broken away on the Queen of the Mountain after Alice's attack there. So Lethbridge here really breaking things apart for the women's race and making sure that it's going to end up being full on attrition. Nobody's going to be able to sit in. And this is what we were talking about. If you make this race hard, the dice roll it's a good dice roll, right? It's not a bad idea to just go full gas, as long as you can stay and not blow yourself up. Now, Beast Mode, though, has 3 riders, Dave. I mean, now that makes things really difficult unless you're just above and beyond. And Alice Lethbridge is a rider.
It's not any 3. Yeah.
No, it's not. That's the other thing.
Right. Yeah. Nathan, really interesting here. This will be a monster challenge for Alice Lethbridge. If Alice can pull off the win. Now, it's really interesting here. As a matter of fact, this will be a teaching race for us, Nathan. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Italian rider, Alessia Polemi here. That's a name, Team Rave, that I'm picking up on, but clearly she's going to be a big part of this conversation. And, we're talking about Lethbridge and Rose Beast Mode. Every now and then a third rider will come along watching sort of an epic battle like that going on. So we'll pay a lot of attention to the other riders that we've got up in this move. But you're right, Nathan. First off, this is the ultimate selection here. Who's going to, I realize it's very, very early in the race. We're just 11 or almost 11K into 41K of racing. It's going to be 3 laps out here on one of the most challenging circuits that you see in esports. Now, as we start looking at the situation, Leah Brewer here, the fearless rider. Now, does she have Lois, her sister, with her? No, Lois didn't.
No, did not make it. She did
Actually,
not make
is this Leah or Lois that we've
I believe
got?
this is Leah. From what I'm looking at here, well, no, I'm seeing them both at the same time, so I'm not positive. We'll have to wait for an update from Zwift Power, actually. Once it does update at the next checkpoint, we'll be able to tell you, but I am seeing Lois and Leah both in the current live, so we'll find out.
Oh my gosh,
soon
Nathan.
enough.
And look at this. I mean, they went ballistic here right now, as it looks like this race is so active here. As a matter of fact, I realize that we're sort of, in the summertime lull, but this race has already got me on the edge of my seat. Look at how they are just clashing swords. That's going to be Dana right now, Dana Wagner, the German rider here on Beast Mode. So Beast Mode is not going to lay back. Alice Lethbridge, though, has been covering everything that goes up the road. And once again, Lethbridge back in a group of 5 here. A couple riders trying to rejoin what is our front group in the women's race. Does this settle down, Nathan, at any point? I mean, can a race stay? It's like watching a pot boiling over and no one is taking it off the stove.
This is absolutely awesome. And now what has happened, though, is Beast Mode actually made an attack and put one of their riders a little bit off the back.
Well, it backfired a little, didn't it?
Yeah, they lost 1 or 2 at this point, and now it's all together up front. Nobody's off the front, and we've got Marb having to chase things back down. So interesting to see there. Now, real quickly, though, attacks are on. They're about to hit their second time, second lap starting here in the men's race, and it's going to be Towel and Gel Power with Theme here trying to shut things down before Otley. This attack before Otley is a great way to try and put some heart rates high. But this large of a group, there's going to be riders that were just sitting in and getting a free ride into the bottom of Otley. So these boys are going to have to really set essentially a full gas 3-minute power to really get anything out of this attack off the front.
So, and you have to say that Chel Power is one of the strongest riders without any doubt in this race. So he's playing some cards early here as we look at Towel, the other rider, who I'm impressed. This is actually the first time, obviously, with a name like that, I would recognize the rider. And for me, this is really first time I'm picking up on what is a real talent. No doubt about it. So, Nathan, you make an excellent point, though. I think the savvy rider sits back, keeps your powder dry. This would be, I mean, again, this is the 2019 World Championship circuit that we're racing on, more or less here. And so the thing that you realize at the World Championships is you've got to that old keeping your powder dry is really important going into the last half of the last lap. But these riders are going to try to cut against the grain here. Morrison coming up, the chain gang rider to join. 3 riders working together with this gap. This should have some alarm bells ringing here.
Interesting enough here with Morrison. I mean, he just jumped right
Kind of
across.
changes the dynamic, doesn't it? Bringing one rider up to this front group, and all of a sudden, when it's 2, you're thinking that's just not going to be enough. But 3, maybe if one more rider wants to bridge and start working, we've got ourselves a situation.
I guess with 3 riders off the front and already 9 seconds, I mean, this is going so quickly how far they're going out. And the question here is anybody going to head to the front? Because I think Wahoo Lecole are kind of controlling things a little bit up there. A little bit of a burrito power up, interesting enough. That's not going to help them. That's actually going to hurt
rid of
the
it.
situation. Yeah, but it's just not a good timing. That seems a little bit. I mean, if you're trying to work with these guys to get away, do you really want them to waste any energy at this point that doesn't just go into pure speed? So perhaps maybe a mistake. Maybe just thought it would do something. Not sure. But 13 seconds, this is definitely serious with a lap and a half or a little over a lap and a half to go.
It certainly would have my attention. Now you start wondering, Nathan, who's going to lead the chase back now? So you look in that second group and you start wondering, where's the organization going to come from? As these 3 watching that gap go up and up and up here. Again, it is early. We're still not even to the halfway point of this race as we're out on lap number 2 of 3.
Does look like Marb there in the lower right-hand corner with the picture-in-picture did get back on terms with Rose Beast Mode. The women about to start finish their first lap, start their second lap out there. And on the main screen, we do have Morrison from the chain gang who came across from the main pack on Otley Road. Now on the other side of it, they're going to hit the downhill. The question is, how much time will come back from the main pack? They're going to have a solid 30 seconds. I think they can close down, especially if they use some aero power-ups like we're seeing from Power at this point. I mean, 20 seconds, even more, can get shut down pretty quickly from a big pack like that. Let's watch the kilometers per hour in the upper left-hand corner. That is really what to pay attention to for what kind of speed differences we are going to see. We saw it up into the 76 or so from Power there for just a second. Steinman and the rest here now just cresting. This will give us an idea, and we'll see the seconds come down and how much time they've actually gained and how much risk they took for what kind of payoff in just a moment.
All right, we're back in with the chase here and this perspective. Yeah, I would not be panicking, Nathan, to tell you the truth. When you look around and see the quality of riders that are still in this group, there's plenty of guys, some fresh legs here. So we're far from that point right now. This is going to be Cowan, the Cryo. It's nice to see, as you said, that Toyota getting on board with Cryo. It's a good team if you want to build your email list. Get Cryo involved, and there's a couple thousand riders that you've now got within grasp.
Now looking at, I was wondering where Hywell Davies was. I was wondering because I knew he was in the race, and I figured that's who this was. So this is
that's who Towel is.
Yeah,
I just figured that. You know what? That's why I was starting to really get curious what was going on there. So now you just explained it for me. So I'm trying to remember through some of our Welsh connections. I believe that we learned that this is Howell, is how you pronounce the name. That came up recently, actually. So Howell Davies. And what do you think is going on there with the name change, though?
He's just telling us how he's just trying to confuse us more about how to pronounce the name. I think that's all.
You know what? I get it. I almost
this is how you pronounce my name. This is how you pronounce the name.
You know what? I just got that, Nathan. So it is. So that is correct. So Howell Davies, like towel.
Yeah, exactly. Boom. Nice job there. And they're working really well together. Actually, these 3 at the front.
Do you think Do you think that Howell is aware that I have the Dave Toll thing that I
Yeah,
deal with
yeah,
for my
maybe.
entire
I'm not
life.
sure. Well, I mean, he's been watching the broadcast for quite a while,
He
and
probably would know.
early
Yeah.
on, I was saying Towley. I was saying Towley. I was saying
Oh,
Towel. I was saying all kinds of stuff. So he
hey,
probably
listen,
knows a little bit there.
even the beloved Matt Stevens, who I absolutely just think is the best, he still calls me Dave Towel. So it
Well,
doesn't
and
bother me at
OJ
all.
says Guerra. OJ says
Yeah,
Guerra. So
right. Yeah, yeah. So, but
doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I just smile and laugh, and we have a good time with it.
it's funny actually because Hannah Walker, her boyfriend is Welsh, and that was where we learned it was pronounced Howell one day. Um, and I got to be honest, for the Belgian writer Chell Power, I would wonder how we do on that pronunciation, Nathan. To tell you the truth, I'm not 100% sure I'm correct on that.
Now, on that one,
So,
I think I've heard that one somewhere, like in a live. For some reason, like back in my memory, there was a live event or something where it was actually said in front of me. I feel like that one,
and
but I
how
might be
was it
incorrect.
said?
Gel,
Like
gel. I
gel?
thought it was
Yeah,
gel.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
thought that's
Good.
what happened, and it might also been some of our announcers in the past. I think also coming from that area of the world were there with me, and we're like, it's gel, and it said it that way. So, but I
I hear
gotta
you.
double check that. We're probably gonna get all kinds of chatter right now. Like, no,
Actually, no.
no,
This is a
no.
it's a good time. You know what? We're constantly learning, right? I mean, I am, and I'm learning from you, Nathan, to tell you the truth. And it's certainly I realize that will never end. But one of the things that I will never have any pushback on is learning the pronunciation of a name. I hate getting it wrong. I know we all do, right? But sometimes we just don't know. So please reach out. We've said it before, so we'll say it again. That those that connection of hearing from folks, sometimes those turn into some of the better friendships that you find in esports, is when someone's just giving you a heads up and then all of a sudden you like that person more.
Take a quick look here at our course profile. Give everybody an idea where the women are at. They just got over the top of Otley Road here. So this is the course profile on the day, thanks to VeloViewer and powered by Strava. Harrogate 2019 UCI Worlds course, 41.6 kilometers, 25.8 miles, and 737 meters of climbing. They just came through that long uphill hill after the start there. And then the downhill section into the pastures. You can see the KOM on the backside of the course as well as the sprint section. Look at how much elevation there is on this front side of the course. Like you look at it like almost looks like a mountain, like a little mini mountain going up, like up, 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 up. And then the lower section of course over there's a big elevation difference between from that finish and everything they do around that left side of the screen. And then that lower end, you can really see how far down they descend.
This course is even more relentless than Richmond, really. Richmond has that kind of the tale of two cities where 2/3 of it is basically flat, and then it is all hell breaks loose for that final third where you're going up Libby and 23rd and Governors. But here it just never really quits. I mean, that looks like a saw blade when you look at the profile.
It definitely cuts deep too.
It does. Absolutely. I mean, it really does look like a saw blade, doesn't it? With uneven, rusty teeth. Like it doesn't get much worse than that. And when you talk about 747 meters of climbing, well, you never really get a rhythm like you do. Those are the kind of numbers that you might hear from a race like, well, Innsbruck After Party. It doesn't even have that much elevation gain, but at least you find a rhythm when you're climbing. Not the case here. It just really requires, it's a racer's course. There's no doubt about it. So Morrison, Nathan, is another rider that it's nice to see some names coming on strong at this point. And I tell you what, if you're 21.8K into racing on this course and you're in a 3-rider move, you are clearly a rider who's got the chops to be extremely competitive in esports, no doubt about it. Again, this is the Chang Gang rider that we're looking at. Going to go back now, P to Z. We were talking about Cryo. This is another one of the teams, or Beast Mode, another one of the teams, Nathan, that has been really, really impressive with a strong Portuguese vibe to it. Big
Look
fan.
Look at this here. 19 seconds. They've kept it within striking distance. Interesting to see.
They kept the leash locked down, didn't they? I mean, they let them go out to 20 seconds, but it hasn't gone above that.
Yeah, and the reality of the teams that are involved here, you're saying P to Z are here, we're seeing Cryogen involved here, we're seeing Beast Mode, and it makes me actually think of the reality of like a Tour de France situation where, they're h- have the teams like later in the race, like over and over again through each one of the stages, they're oh, we'll pull this back, we'll pull this back. There's a break up the road, but we've got team representation here that I think is just kind of keep their heads kept their heads cool and are like, no, we can bring that back later on in the race. Down to 15 seconds at this point. Savory now hammering at the front, as you can see.
Well,
And I think that this may
this is
just be these boys up front are just draining their batteries really, because I have a feeling that these stronger riders that have sat in and waited are going to get the payoff from their patience.
I completely agree. Nathan, right now, what you'd want to do if you're sitting back in this chase group, you'd be incredibly confident of your position. And I would say feather this a little bit. Let's go ahead and ease back on the chase. Let these guys completely drain their battery, because those are some very dangerous riders that you're talking about here. Howell Davies is, along with Chell Power, they come in ranked number 1 and number 2 on Zwift Power. And those are two names that are consistently in the top 10 in the very highest level of esports racing. So if you're back in this chase group right now, I think it's really to your benefit. Speaking to what you were just talking about, Nathan, keep this at 15 seconds. Let him run another lap like this. It only benefits you if that group that you're in. And again, I was saying, look around. What are the quality of riders? Do you feel like everybody's got something left to give? And I think that's the case. Well, let's not chase them back right now.
What's interesting is that they've broken it apart though in the chase group, and with that snap here, there's only going to be 4 chasers. And do they have the firepower to bring back?
This benefits the break tremendously, doesn't
It
it? I
actually
mean,
does.
yeah, this is bizarrely not at all what you would want if you were sitting back in that group.
These 4 need to get across. They have to get across now. Like this is there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I think the front runners are just stronger riders, and
I couldn't
that
agree more,
yeah, they
Nathan.
have to break. They
This
have
is
to go now.
Yep. So this might be the smartest move of the race, or it could back. This is a big gamble, huge gamble that we're looking at right now. I love it. I mean, but it looks like these guys in that second group who let that split open up are now starting to fight back. And all of a sudden, you start to realize why breakaways work sometimes, because this infighting going on now, and you made the point perfectly, Nathan. Either they get up to this front group and turn it into a front group of 7 or 8 riders, or this was a big waste of energy. And right now, it's impossible to say which way this one is going to go, but it's starting to look like they're going to make the catch. A few of these guys are going to make it. Wow, what a dynamic race this is. Fantastico, as they say in Italy. Some great racing going on right now. But to your point, Nathan, the 3 riders sitting up in that front group, they are, in a way, got to be chuckling to themselves to see what they've done to this bike race.
Yeah, and really it is their move that has broken things apart here and snapped the elastic even behind, because the chase to bring them back, which is happening right now with Theme there from Beast Mode, able to bring it back, as well as P to Z. Savory, they're just hanging on. Not sure the rest of these guys are going to be able to get across. So 3 seconds might be too much if anybody pushes the pace up front. Waiting up for these riders, probably not going to be any kind of benefit at this point either, for even if they're a teammate. P to Z, I think, with the most representation up front now with Moreno as well as Tony CID there. So we do see how now hanging on, it looks like, but a little bit of a kick here from Savory, going to be able to grab those points there. How now second across the line, it looks like, followed up by Moreno. So Morrison from the chain gain, the dark horse that we don't really know a whole lot about. I wonder, this rider's just kind of always been right in the right wheel, though. He's always kind of just been right exactly where he needs to be, following the moves, making the moves across, and then sitting in and staying quiet. So I'd be watching, just watching
Ariel
how
Savoy?
this Morrison guy, watching how he's riding this race right now. I would watch out for this one. I'm going to call here that this one might be, under the radar, dark horse for the wind here. This, because just
So
watching his tactics throughout, it's really been interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree, Nathan. So Ariel Savori and Christopher Morrison are two names that I'm really just picking up on. You can see the Argentinian flag there. What a beautiful flag that is for Savori right in the middle of this front group. But Christopher Morrison, Nathan, I'm not. How familiar are you with Christopher?
Not familiar at all, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
so
not,
I was going to say
not at all.
I'm going to say this is the first time that I've witnessed Christopher racing, but obviously he's not new to esports, and clearly I'm even going to say that the Chain Gang team is new to me. So I am really excited to see a breakthrough ride happening right in front of us. It looks like Alessia Polimi down there in the picture is also having a breakthrough ride out here today. So Nathan, it's nice to see some new names, isn't it, up in the front group, along with some of our familiar favorites like Howell and Shell. So this is a turning point day, I would say, right here in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, we do see Polimi here with Lethbridge on the attack on their second Queen of the Mountain. Now at this point, Lethbridge now going on the attack. It looks like 7.7 watts become 190 beats per minute coming from Lethbridge, the Hino rider now. Goldcloud now trying to come across. It looks like the Vision Rider 3 seconds back though, but she's the main chase from the group. And then the Burrito power up coming from Polemi, just getting rid of it though. It's not doing her a whole lot of good. It's just to get rid of it because she knows she's going to collect another power up. Not sure Lethbridge is going to get away at this point. There's a large group behind that's going to be able to snowball down this. Polemi, if she had Polemi with her on her wheel and they may be able to work together, even then those 7 seconds are going to come back pretty quickly with the reality of the group behind. But Lethbridge is going to put pain in the legs, and I think this is going to pay back later. This is money in the bank for her.
Yeah, and for her, she's not overextending herself. When you talk about Alice, she's got some watts that she can play around with here, and it'll be interesting to see what this group looks like. We're through the midpoint of the race now, deep into the second of 3 laps. Certainly, Alessia Polemi there, the Italian rider, has been one of the breakthroughs. But when you look back, you can see it looks like Leah and Louise are both there now. The Brewers on the Fearless team. There's still enough horsepower, Nathan, I would say, back in that chasing group that if I were Alessia, I would lay back and sit with that group for a while rather than try to go with Lethbridge at this point.
Yeah, at 65 kilometers per hour, she's, she can just get into a super tuck. Doesn't really need to use too much energy at this point. Doesn't need to concern herself, I don't think, with really pushing too hard. At 55, yeah, she needs to keep things up. Get a little bit of a kick here. Always the super tuck is your best friend in this game. If you can use a super tuck at any moment, always try and get into it. Of course, on longer downhills, give a little bit of a kick. Polemi did use a little bit of energy here to get back on terms. Now at that 57, 58, this is where continuing on with any kind of wattage in the pedals isn't going to do a whole lot. Boom, there it is. Super tuck. Now bring that on through. Now kick as soon as you hit this climb here. You see the Tron wheels get back into the glow. That's when you know the power is back on. 6.4 watts per kilogram. These two might be, I thought for sure it was going to come back.
They're not playing around.
Behind, I thought there was enough bodies here, but they didn't work very well together on that descent. It looks like everybody was kind of watching each other. I didn't see a lot of super tucks behind, and that is not the snowball effect you're going to get. You have to work together to hit that 57. A lot of riders don't know that. They don't understand what the downhill is actually for when it comes to that tactic. If you don't use the super tuck, you're actually wasting time in a pack, and you're not getting the advantage of a snowball effect. There is no avalanche at that point, and you will not gain momentum on the riders ahead. You're essentially just doing the same pace that they would at the same watts per kilogram. It makes it a flat section of course, really.
Yeah, well, this is the gamification of Zwift that we're talking about. I tell you, the Brewer sisters clearly get that. As the Fearless riders now riding their way back into this race. Carly Johan, I see she's now coming up, and as we see Charlotte Kolkloff here, the ride out of the United Kingdom, this is a pretty well-organized chase that we're looking at here as we make our way deep into 3 laps of racing out here on the World Championship circuit. But let's go to the very front and pick up the vanguard of this race. And I have to say that Alessia Polimi is really impressing at this point. The Italian crushing it here. Now that's going to be the green Tron bike that we're looking at, along with one of the undisputed superstars of esports racing, Alice Lethbridge.
I love it. And she gets her.
Gonna take it. Yeah.
Wow. At the line for the sprint section. Alessia Polimi. I mean, we're talking Alice Lethbridge, Hino reality here. And Polimi takes down a sprint on Lethbridge. That's like, I mean, we're talking
This is
winning
like
at the
watching-
highest level of ZRL is Lethbridge in sprints. So great to see from the Italian rider here, Dave.
I couldn't agree more, Nathan. I mean, this is like watching a prize fighter that you've never heard of step into the ring with Muhammad Ali and take the first swing and connect, right? Where you're like, holy cow. How about the chops of Alessia Polemi, the Italian here? Now, this is the rider in the white jersey. Even Alice Lethbridge has to be impressed. You can't speak highly enough about Alice Lethbridge and her status out here. And for Alessia, this is a breakthrough moment in esports. And as a matter of fact,
I didn't realize.
What team is Alessia?
Well, she's on rave. We're bringing in the music here for Alessia because this is the rave. They're the ones who have brought the party a lot of times, and pretty cool to see at this pickup here of Polemi here. Had to do that. As soon as I noticed that they were on rave, I was like, we got to bring the music in. Team Rave now showing up with Polemi. Great to see here, and really cool that we have this battle now with one of the new esports teams that launched in I think Rave is the last 6 months kind of a situation here.
I agree.
Pretty cool to see them battling with Heino at the front.
I agree, Nathan. I would say that Rave is the strongest team that we've been introduced to since we met Beast Mode, to tell you the truth. Beast Mode came on a little bit earlier than that, I would say. But either way, there's a rider out of the Pacific Northwest that we were able to see racing in the final time zone of the ZRL in the community, Nadia Gantova, who I would put at this level here, where if you're one of our ZRL teams trying to find a talented athlete that really has the ability to make an impact, they're few and far between. As a matter of fact, they're like a unicorn, right, Nathan? I mean, sometimes you never find one. Well, these are the kind of riders that you can actually build a team around. What we're seeing from Alessia Polemi here, this is world class. And at this point now, she and Lethbridge, why not here for the first of our Zwift Classics? I love the spirit of racing. I think Alice has shown us that the courage, the ability to risk, realizing that without that risk, there will be no great reward. Well, Alice and Alessia, if these two want to lock this down, it's a 7-second gap right now being led by Rose Beast Mode. They are taking responsibility for the chase here. You see a lot of German flags there, along with both of the Brewer sisters, Charlotte Kolkloff. This is going to be quite a battle here, as they're just about to complete the second of 3 laps today here in Yorkshire. This is the chase, that black jersey of Beast Mode with the orange highlights. Now, this is the team that's got
behind the
really
chase,
the numbers.
Dave. Look behind. I mean, this is far from over as far. I mean, Lois is there still. Leah's here. We've got Carly Johan is still here. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough one for these two up front.
It is, but look at this now. The gap is starting to open up as they're applying the pressure on this climb. Now, I have a bad feeling for these ladies behind our 2 leaders. And again, we're focusing now on Alessia Polemi, the Italian here on rave, wearing the white jersey with the Anna Russell approved headband. As a matter of fact, she's checking a lot of boxes right now. And you take a look at Alice Lethbridge, who, if you've been listening to the broadcast, obviously we are big fans of what Alice is all about. These two, now this could regroup, Nathan, and we could see a whole new scenario playing out. But this is going to be interesting to watch because these two look pretty pot committed to me right now.
Yeah, and the reality of Otley Road, that is going to be this right-hand turn they're looking at in front of them here, is going to really settle this into who's just the strongest rider. They're about to settle into a rhythm on a climb that's a 5% gradient or so. And if these two just got more watts, they've got more power, they're the better athletes on course at this point, they will begin to walk away even more. And I think they've proven that, and they're going to show it to us right now on the pavement.
This is your cream rising to the top moment. If they really are the cream of this race, then what Nathan said will absolutely play out, and it's playing out right in front of our eyes. You can watch the data, that raw data here, as Bruni is sitting at 10 seconds, and it's going up now. 12 seconds back to the second group, being led by Carly Johan. So you can see right now that these women are taking on water like the Titanic as far as the chase goes, because these two are exceptional when you look at Lethbridge and Polemi. interesting with all of the dynamics around Italy and England playing in the European soccer final this weekend. We've got a Brit and an Italian off of the front now in a very international field, and this is the chase that we're looking at. It's coming back together. That benefits this group. If they can work together, that's really their only chance at this point, Nathan.
They need to just kind of settle the fire down, put a couple of buckets on there.
Stop attacking each other.
Yeah, and just get into a solid rhythm at the front to keep this within about 10 to 15 seconds over the top of this climb, and they can roll right on down Otley on the other side and perhaps bring that back. They got to get in the super tucks quick. They got to be really smart about how they come over the top. They can't just look at each other, and right now they have to commit to working together to keep that damage control because they could bring things back together. The reality, though, is they need to push Polemi and Lethbridge to waste as much energy as possible because what we have seen so far is that those two can break it apart again when they hit that Queen of the Mountain for the final time. So a lot of smart tactics need to play out here in front of us here. Kolklov now says, no, I'm just going to go across. No, there needs to be steady and not a huge attack. Bruni's going to come across, though, it looks like. Now, maybe if they can match this, but it looks like Kolklov said enough is enough. I want to get on these riders' wheels.
This is Charlotte Kolklov. Nathan, here's the difference between in real life racing and Zwift racing. If you're in this group and you are a respected rider, you can start to organize this chase and say, listen, everybody, settle down. Let's work together. It's in all of our interest now to pitch in and be consistent in this chase. Now, it's hard to say what was going on with Charlotte there. She's going to come back into the group, and this is exactly what the doctor ordered if you're back in this chase. Carly Johan, very experienced rider here, is going to start setting the tempo. But Nathan, when you said damage control, you're exactly right. If they can hold this, and it's just now, we're watching that grass fire turn into a structure fire, to tell you the truth, because at 20 seconds now, this gets worse and worse. As a matter of fact, it's starting to look like it's like trying to hold on to a handful of water here. It's going between their fingers when you look at that chase. And now Alice Lethbridge is showing you why she is one of the queens of esports here as she continues to apply the pressure. Alessia Polemi is able to hold on, but Nathan, the gap is really starting to go out of control right now as we're watching this come up on 30 seconds. Okay, they're blowing this race to bits. Alice Lethbridge and Alessia Polemi are riding away here into the final 10K of racing, or coming up on, let's say, 11.5K of racing here. This is their race to win. No doubt about it. It looks like Lethbridge and Alessia Polemi, who is without a doubt my breakthrough rider of the summer with this performance that we're witnessing right now here at Classic #1 in Yorkshire. This certainly didn't disappoint. The women putting on a show.
Yeah, and really, I mean, coming into this climb for Otley Road with the women, we'll head over to the men just 1 second. Last thing here, though, is Polemi was putting in some work, and with the quality of Lethbridge, it was almost like, well, she's putting in the work to try and open up this gap, but I was like, risky here, because the reality of Lethbridge, if I were sitting on Lethbridge's wheel, I'd be like, I'm just sitting in. Like I know how strong this rider is, but good on her for putting some work in and showing the confidence in her ability. So, Polemi, great to see.
Nathan, I'm going to have to say that there must be something about Alessia that I don't know, and I'll put it to my naivete, because she is clearly a world-class bike racer with what she's doing here. So this is not someone who just showed up in esports and happens to be surprising herself. If you see what I'm saying, this is an athlete who knows that she's world-class because she's riding like a world-class athlete without any doubt. And there's something, she can't be surprising herself is what is my thought.
100% level 37 Zwift are riding for Team Rave. If you didn't know, Team Rave and what it stands for is actually Racing Autocorrect Victim Equip. So, with a focus on team, everybody needs to be heard, and raving, of course. We're all about fun, energy, and racing, and we meant raving. Stupid autocorrect. So
now I like the team even more after hearing that.
Yeah, Racing Autocorrect Victim Equip. Loving them, absolutely loving it. Men's race, beast mode on the attack. It's all back together. Wow, I mean. The way that this race is played out with this front group has just been back and forth here. And my question is, does Zhao Powell and Howell do too much off the front? Morrison as well, because it's all come back together. P to Z here have 3 riders now at this point. to be able to try and burn some matches. Actually, no. Wow, this is going to be quite the battle between, it looks like, Rose Beast Mode and P to Z, with a couple of riders here able to just kind of watch and see what they do, maybe use those efforts and counter them. We're into the final climb here. Will we see an attack after this little bit of a lull in the climb? I think we're going to see right here, it's going to level out, the speeds will go up, and somebody's going to jump, I think, to try and break things apart.
Let's start taking some inventory here. Moreno is taking a look at everyone up in the front group. Christopher Morrison remains impressive. We still see the Belgian. Chel Power is there. That's certainly anything but a surprise. Christoph Thiem as well for Rose Beast Mode. These are some of the riders that are well established. Ariel Sivori, Nathan. This is a name that's somewhat like Polemi, Alessia Polemi in the women's race, that is clearly having a breakthrough ride. And look at the watts that they're making right now. They are absolutely throwing down. This is going to be the Belgian rider, Power, putting everyone under pressure right now. What a moment we're witnessing. Okay, Nathan, we have entered the business end for the men as well. It was great to spend that time with the women here. As you can see, so much was happening in that race, but these guys now are down to brass tacks out here. They've taken out the stilettos. It's interesting to see coming up and over the top. It's going to be Ariel Sivori, and Sivori, the Argentinian, is going to pick it up. Oh, man, what a race we've got here as they're down to 4K to go.
That's off the back now. So they've lost one from Beast Mode. I think Beast Mode is isolated at this point. P to Z now able to get back on turns. Gel Power on the back there with a burrito power up, though. Was that used over the top, perhaps? I'm not sure. Is he going to be looking for something in the sprint section, I think, but now there's a gap and they're into the super tuck. No, it's only 56 kilometers per hour. They need to get the speeds high. There it is. Now it's into the super tuck. How they're now off the front here, trying to get those speeds high enough, and there's the orange numbers behind to close it down, because P to Z will be back off the back if they do not. And there it is. It's all going to slowly come back together.
It's funny to watch. I mean, Nathan, you really talked about exactly this earlier in the race, how they all knew that you needed that little bit of super tuck right there. They know how to play the game. That's going to be Hal Davies that we're looking at right now. Well, there is no doubt in my mind that your winner is on the screen, your screen right now in this group. But wow, this is a good sized group coming into the finale, Nathan. It's going to be a complicated finale here.
Oh, I'm getting a little bit of as we talk about the finale, we're getting a correction here, Gert. Lewis, thanks a lot. Appreciate it over in the chat on Facebook, letting us know exactly how to make the pronunciation. It is going to be Hiel. So it's going to be Hiel.
Hiel.
Is what Hiel. K and then yell. So we're just supposed to yell.
Thanks, Garrett. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens whenever
that's what we were
looking
for.
That's what we're doing. We're yelling all kinds of things here about as Power is really blowing this race apart out here. We appreciate the help.
But that's our new pronunciation, Kiel, right? That makes more sense to me, to tell you the truth. All you have to do is hear that once, and it's like, I get it. This is Christoph Thiem, the German rider here on Beast Mode, right in the center, right in the sweet spot, to tell you the truth, where you would want to be. Makes such a big difference now, not wasting a watt here, because it's going to come down to one massive withdrawal at the pain bank. Nathan, I'll be surprised if we don't see, is it 8 riders in this group? I believe it's 8 rider sprint is what I'm anticipating.
Yeah, it looks
I don't think at this point you drop anyone.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. The only thing I could see is right here, Sivori or somebody getting
there it goes.
A gap a little bit, and some of these riders might be really tired enough, and somebody does one of those, last 2 to 3K, flyers, and 2 or 3 start working together. Yeah. I mean, this could be it right here. It depends on if everybody is able to coalesce after this sprint and sit in, or if anybody wants continuance.
Well, you counter.
Look at this. Here it is. This could be
it. The counter goes now. Yeah, this is your moment. The very small window had opened, and the attack is now underway, and it's going to be Christoph Thiem, who's hit out with authority. Now, if he comes back, and it looks like he is going to come back, Nathan, we reset everything, because if that wasn't enough to break this group apart, I can't imagine what would be. Christopher Morrison is going to fight back into the group. What a ride he is having. Christopher, welcome to big-time esports racing. You have certainly impressed us out here today. The Chang Gang rider is now in this group. Nathan, it looks like we are down to, I think you're going to see it come back to 8 riders together here. A reduced group sprint here in Yorkshire is what we've got on order. 8 riders have made the move. This is the vanguard for our men. The women's situation, again, we'll pick them up as they go into their final few K, but we are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. Big time bike racing is back here on Zwift. It's great to see. Classic number 1, Nathan, has come down to this. Your winner, boy, they're going to have to earn this one. The quality of the competition is next level on one of the best courses to race on. Everything has worked out. Now, is it going to be Ariel Savori, Nathan? It would not surprise me if we're saying Viva Argentina when this one is put paid.
Looking through here, a little bit maybe a mistake on my point here as Christopher Morrison, 225 races, A+, level 43, and maybe just a little bit quiet on some of the broadcast races here. So I'm seeing a lot of effort.
Maybe just not racing ZRL.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, we're looking all the way.
Now we know.
2017, we're seeing December 11th, a big jump all the way to 2018, big jump all the way to 2019, though. So, it looks like a little bit of Zwifting, and then into 2020, that's when things really picked up for Morrison's racing, it looks like here. So good to see him jumping on in for the classics right now. We'll see if we can take this down. We're into the final here. This is the last K or so. So what's going to happen?
He's your wild card, to tell you the truth, Nathan. I mean, I would have to say he could come out of the woodwork on these guys. I would be very, very nervous when you look at someone who seems to be so comfortable now, positioning himself very, very well. This is it right here, right now. We are going to separate the wheat from the chaff. It hasn't been easy to get to this point. This group has been incredibly active, but we're going to turn it up to 11 here at this point, Nathan, as we go into the finale. Brace yourselves. There is a hurricane of pain bearing down on Harrogate.
Watch how here. It's Savori and Howell is who I'm really paying attention though here. There it is. 10 watts per kilogram over the top. Yep, for sure. Yell power there as well. But there it is. It's the arrow power up from way out. He's looking for a gap. Will he be able to hang on? This group is going to need somebody to be a lead out man to bring this back. They cannot look at each other at this point because Howell, I think he's made it happen here. He's off the front, and I don't think this is coming back, Dave. The separation is too much, and Davies has done it.
This is a big one. Classic number 1 goes to the Welshman as Howell Davies hits it out of the park. Holy cow. So that was a quality group to win out of, and he did it with authority. Put an exclamation point next to this one.
Yell had the kick, but he waited, and it was just too late and unable to make anything happen there because of it. And, he played it really smart. Really, on this course, usually that move that Howell did there does not work. But today, it was perfectly timed from the back.
Power.
The momentum. It was all about that momentum.
That you couldn't have played your cards any better than Howell Davies. And, the real winner today, though, might be Kiel Power, because at least he's going to hear his first name pronounced correctly for the first time in 2 years. So, Nathan, it doesn't quit, does it? This 2-rider battle. So I went onto the internet and looked up Alessia Polemi. So I believe that she's actually a scholar at Drexel University in the United States.
Oh, wow.
There obviously could be more than one Alessia Polemi, but I have a feeling that this Italian is actually, working at university here in the U.S. And maybe why. And so I might have to eat my own words. This might be an athlete that is having that breakthrough moment out here in the world of esports. And that's, in a way, even cooler, to tell you the truth.
Triathlete, it looks like, level 37 Zwifter, 63 races under her belt, from what I can see here. She's been racing, it looks like, since October of 2020, so less than a year of racing under her belt on Zwift. And Alessia Polemi here, as far as ranking goes, pretty good ranking as well. So, I mean, she's definitely committed to the world of Zwift racing. And something we're seeing a lot on this course is the triathletes, because of the nature of this course, the attrition that it takes. They have been performing pretty well. We saw it in the New Zealand race. Anna was really hyping up the 2 cryo riders this morning here, actually, with Ben Ruth and I believe it was it Cowan? Amazing ride by those riders this morning. And they were able to just break everybody because of the amount of endurance that they had in their legs, the amount of just over and over again able to just break everybody apart. They had their sprints. They didn't have a sprint really at all. At the end, it was just kind of this like fizzle to the line. I mean, I should, but it wasn't like 15 watts per kilogram that we just saw from these guys. It was more like a 10 to 11. Now Lethbridge, though, giving a go here.
Yeah, Alice.
And Plemy, can she come back?
Well, and yes, look at this. Polemi responding like a champ here. Nathan, this is going to be like a prize fight. Again, you're going to have a very unique situation where Alice Lethbridge of the High Note team comes in as one of the most recognized, established riders in esports. She's been a winner in the Premier League of the ZRL. I mean, you really, and she's also been a community leader as well. I mean, Nathan, is there anyone really? There's a group of athletes that have earned a tremendous amount of respect in the esports community. And I certainly put Alice Lethbridge at the top of that group. Now, that's not to sell Alessia Polemi short. I believe Alessia is actually a professor at Drexel, and it's clearly shown that she is rock solid out here. She has weathered multiple attacks from Alice Lethbridge that would have brought any other rider to their knees, but not Alessia. She has responded and come back. And actually, at this point now, even Alice Lethbridge has to be wondering what she is dealing with, and another surge coming here, because I don't think Alice Lethbridge, Nathan, and if I'm Alice's, able to give her any direction, I also would not want to find out in this scenario what kind of a sprinter Polemi is. Don't let it come down to that, because I have a feeling the news won't be good. The odds at this point now, and this is it, Lethbridge has gone, I have to think, committed now to trying to shake what is absolutely a stunner of a ride coming from Alessia Polemi here today. But Lethbridge, I believe, Nathan, is trying to drive the final nail home here and just avoid a sprint. But Alessia is fighting back. What a spirit this athlete has.
So great. Polemi now back on.
Isn't this why we race, Nathan?
It is.
This is what it's all about.
Polemi now coming on back to the wheel, over the top, 157 beats per minute, as you can see. Very low heart rate actually here. Now, I think Lethbridge, though, at the end of the day, most likely has the kick. We've seen it over and over again. I think Lethbridge's play now at this point is just to play, perhaps just keep on throwing like a haymaker back off, and then wait for that moment for the kick. If she believes, though, that Polemi can keep on coming back, that might not be in her advantage at all, though. So, it might be more about, okay,
some point,
wait for that final knockout punch before the finish line.
I mean, it's sort of like that situation, right, where the psychology of the athlete really comes into play. You have to believe that Alice Lethbridge comes in with supreme confidence in herself. She has every reason to. But there's things that are out of your control, and Alessia Polemi is out of her control right now. And, I don't know that this has been a full force attack that we've seen from Lethbridge, but she hasn't been playing around. And I would say that 99 out of 100 athletes that Lethbridge has been racing against would have been dropped. So Alessia Polemi at this point is exceptional. And we still haven't seen the ceiling of her ability or even close. So if I'm Alice Lethbridge, I definitely have a giant question mark now. I mean, it's almost like sprinting against a spirit or a ghost. You don't know. You just don't know what they're going to be able to do. And at this point, I'm not going to be surprised if Alessia Polemi is able to take the gold medal today.
Be quite, a lot
this
of
would be huge
eyebrows. A lot of eyebrows will be raised and like, oh, Team Raver on the radar. Up against
this is how you do
rider?
It. Yeah. I mean, this is like showing up at the party with a case of Dom Perignon. You're going to get some attention. And by beating Alice Lethbridge, this is not chopped liver that we're talking about. And again, there's the two different scenarios, because Lethbridge clearly comes in as such again, You don't know exactly what you're racing against with Alessia Palemi, but this is it. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. We make this turn, Nathan, and now, ladies, it's your opportunity to prove it. And they're both going to keep the powder dry
there
here
it is.
at first. There goes
9 watts per
Lethbridge.
kilogram, Lethbridge, though, but this is the bait.
Palemi
We saw
responds.
this earlier. Palemi, can she hold on? Now 8 watts per kilogram. She's got the gap. There is no draft at this point. I don't believe. I think
Palemi's
it's
coming
over
back.
5. Palemi's coming back. No. 7 watts per kilogram. 8 watts per kilogram, no, from Palemi. She's kicking again. It's back and forth. It's on the edge here.
Palemi
Lethbridge
is coming
goes.
back.
7 watts per kilogram. Arrow
Oh.
power up. She has an arrow power up. No, it might be the death knell for Lethbridge, but now it's dropping to 5, and Lethbridge is going to
Alice
break her.
has just enough. Oh,
It's
yes.
done
This
and
was
dusted.
great racing. So the queen remains the queen. Alice Lethbridge will hold on, but she was pushed to her limits. We all come away as better after watching this. Alice Lethbridge, I salute you. Another outstanding ride, but Alessia Palemi, you have earned immense amounts of respect with that ride today. I am so proud of you.
What a battle there, right to the line. Palemi almost making it happen for Team Rave. We're going to see Beast Mode coming across the line here for third place. Nice little battle between them and Vision, as well as Fearless behind. And Fearless actually doing a 1-2 up against Coldcloth there behind. So that'll be interesting to see for fourth place. It looks like Bruni, across the line. Here goes a 5-up sprint, actually. Wasn't expecting that, as it is going to be one of the Brewers, and then either Leah or Lewis. And then it is going to be Wagner, followed up by Coldclaw, now fading Carly Johan as well. So that's the situation there between those riders. We'll get results up here in just a moment. But wow, Dave.
Wow.
What a battle, and a lot of racing still to come, everybody. That was just the first one.
I can't do anymore. I'm drained. That was all I had. That was emotionally exhausting. Isn't it interesting, Nathan? I mean, so Alice Lethbridge is Alice Lethbridge, but if you're Palemi, you have to walk away feeling really good about that performance. Sure, you didn't get the win, but you proved to all of us that you will be in the mix. So congratulations on a great race, ladies. And boy, there were some big names up there. Charlotte and Dana finishing up strong there in that lead group. So great racing by the women. I'm really happy to see this Yorkshire Classic, our Eastern European group, putting on a tremendous show.
Yeah, amazing job across the board there. That's for sure. Going to see if we can bring in some results here in just a moment. If you're just tuning in though, take a look. This is what's going on here, everybody. It is the Zwift Classics, and we do have 2 more races to be covering. We will be covering all of the European races across here, so lots more to come here. It's going to be C1 today, but these Zwift Classics are happening all the way from July 13th today through August 31st. Next week will be the Apple Lap, and every week there is a feature over on the World of Zwift specifically about what is going on with these races, for how to win the race and how the race was won in epic moments in the past. So make sure to check that out, as well as Dave has been jet setting to grab a lot of awesome content actually about the racers who are who make up this community. Dave, if you want to speak to that a little bit, because I thought your Jeff Kabush interview was absolutely awesome.
Thanks, Nathan. It was really fun to do. And so Jeff Kabush is on along with your awesome contribution to the World of Zwift, that the episode that's out right now. And there's 4 more athletes. Jeff, a 3-time Canadian Olympian. What a lifestyle he has there in Truckee. I think when you meet, so those dogs are Katarina's dogs. Jeff has living up there in Truckee. They have a few different homes, but you get a feeling that summertime up there. Truckee is one of those. I'm going to guess a lot of our European friends wouldn't be familiar with Truckee, California, but it's really right in between Sacramento and Reno, Nevada, and basically think Lake Tahoe. And how beautiful it is up in the high Sierra Nevadas. So I don't know if you've ever heard me make that joke about the Donner Party, but that's actually where the Donner Party is where they came to grief.
Oh gosh, oh
right
man.
up there, right? So
Well, I mean,
a lot of history.
There's a lot of history of suffering, so that's why he's getting all
Yeah.
his interviews. That's
Yeah.
why he's getting all of his intervals done in the
Extreme
area.
suffering
Oh.
in that case, for sure. But yeah, and our next guest, I know folks are going to be really excited to meet V Win. So V is in the pipeline to come up next. So Nathan, thanks a lot for letting me highlight that. It was a tremendous amount of fun, and we've got there's after V. I'm not going to spill the beans, but we have some really really fun people for you to meet. This community is great, and I would have to say that unfortunately, because of COVID, we've only been able to travel in the United States. But wouldn't Alice Lethbridge make a fantastic guest? I would love to find out more about Alice, and at this point, I'm interested in meeting Alessia. She certainly caught my attention today.
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing that the community, that's one of the things we love highlighting here is the stories behind the avatars. We love to see who these people actually are and what they're, because there's the coolest thing, you go to a race situation, you go to a race in real life, and you actually a lot of times aren't able to pull quite as much out about who people are and what's going on here. But with the way that we're able to connect through this platform and the communications that we're able to get, just how quickly we can get them, I think like you get a little bit more about who people are actually through the Zwift platform, which is it kind of blows me away. Like you aren't actually meeting these people in real life, but when you go to a real life event, there's only so many contact points that your human body can make, right? Like there's only so many, and so through here, we're able to kind of grab a lot more communication, a lot more information can come at us, and we can present a lot more about who these people are and what they're up to with their fitness goals and racing and what they're up to behind the scenes with the Zwift platform, which is absolutely awesome to see. We do have results here. Let's go ahead and bring these on in. Thanks to WTRL, they put together a pretty cool little new results scene for us. And it's going to be Yorkshire Grand Prix Eastern Europe, and it was Howell Davies taking it down there, 2 seconds ahead of Yell Power with seat theme. It's going to be a Savory. They're followed up by Marino, and then it's going to be. I'm not going to get that one. That one, you want to give it a go? From
Texa Conde.
Oh yeah, my gosh, that's amazing. That was amazing, Dave. Like, oh.
So I'm going to be pretty sure that that's a friend of ours from the Basque country. And then you've got Sid. How about Christopher Morrison today as well? Sean Betts and Henderson. That's your top 10. But Nathan, that was a great race today. Way to go, Hal.
And then on the women's side of things, Alice Lethbridge in the last few meters was able to break Lemmy, who was with her and worked very well with her actually through the entirety of the race. There was going to be Bruni. They're coming from Beast Mode Brewers, the Brewer sisters. I believe that's going to be Lois and Leah. I think Leah, though, was the first one to come across the line. Wagner then followed up by Kokal. It's going to be Carly Johan, Marb, and then our mobs there across the line. That is your top 10 in the first of the Yorkshire Grand Prix. Now, I want to have a little chat here in just a moment here about what the new AutoCat system is. Martin is hanging out in the background here, but we do have our next race coming up, though. And they're going to be starting, it looks like, in just about 2 minutes or so for the men's and the women's races here. Interesting enough, I'm not seeing, see if we perhaps got something going on here on the men's side of things and get a few of these riders to actually be in the in the pens. But we'll see what's happening with the men's side of things here in just a moment and whether or not we're going to have images. I might have to relog and do a couple of things here in just a moment.
But yeah, AutoCat, I would love to hear your thoughts on what's going on there. It's been, it seems to me like really well received from everything that I've read and heard. It sounds like it's really working out well. And a big thank you to WTRL for, I mean, I have to say, leveling up, to tell you the truth. This is something that folks have been looking forward to for a long time. Talk about that for us, Nathan. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the AutoCats, I'm going to let's go ahead and head on down to the pens here, and I'll go ahead and let Martin himself. Martin, if you're there, let's see if he's got his headset going on here. And the women are going to be taking off in about 2 minutes or so, but while we do that, and I think Martin's going to throw his headset on and let us know. Martin, are you there?
There he is.
Just 2 secs.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Yeah. We got you, Martin Crew, WTRL director, the guy behind the scenes that makes it all happen. Well, so what is speak to us a little
Mastermind.
bit about the AutoCAD system and what's been going on with that? And there were some tests last week. I mean, give everybody an idea of what this new feature is that we are watching play out in front of us.
Yeah, well, this originally all started off matchmaking. So if we were able to predict the time of a racer or the speed of a racer on a course based on the weight, the power, and all the other hundreds of variables that go into it, then the idea was you'd be able to click a button, say I want to race, and then in a 15-minute time span, everyone with a similar ability doing the same thing would group you together and create an event, put you in it. And essentially it would mean you can race at the time you want to race with people of a similar capability, rather than having a fixed time event and having to wait or rearrange your day or wait for a certain day and things like that. Obviously there's still room for all the events, but it's moved on into looking at the categories, the classifications, the rider ability, more trying to get closer gaps in the ability, so that particularly at the lower end of the category, the classification system, so that particularly people coming into racing aren't being beaten for weeks on end, turned away, put off by racing, or I know myself, you join Zwift and you're stuck in the same category for months and you don't feel like you're going very far. So it's just really just trying to improve it, make the racing more fun, more enjoyable, a bit more competitive. There's elements of taking out stuff like sandbagging and stuff like that too. It's a huge project. It's still in its early days. It's done a lot of test runs in the background, but as we all know, when you're testing the theory behind a category system with a different category system, with riders in the wrong pen because there's no restrictions to stop them getting into that race, data gets a bit corrupt. So it's early days, and we are aware today with AutoCAD that there are a handful of people returning to Zwift who have been placed in a pen particularly that's not particularly difficult for them. We'll see that corrected next week. The system has the ability to learn.
Nice. And so, what are some of the? So I heard speed and maybe skill sets even that are being used besides just speed.
Yeah. So what we're trying to end up with is your ability to use the draft in the game, rather than just being a cling on till the end and sprint like hell, or just annihilate everybody and off you go off the front. But obviously the algorithms of cycling, without wanting to go into too much of the mathematics behind it, but there's drag factors, there's temperature factors, there's altitude factors, there's elevation factors, the amount of climbing you have to do, the terrain you're riding on, whether it's asphalt or tarmac if you're in the UK, or gravel, or dust, cobbles. There's a whole array of numbers that go into essentially telling your avatar on screen how to go. And it's become evidently clear in the watts per kilo model. That's great for training, and that's what Zwift was originally developed for. It's a training platform, and the most modern way to train is with power. When it comes to racing, a watts per kilogram category model doesn't necessarily work, because there's an element of how much physical power you put out, how many joules per second, which is essentially what a watt is. And you can be a heavy guy clunking out 400 watts and a light guy clunking out 200 watts. So you're going to get hammered by the heavy guy. But it can be flipped the other way around as well. And you only have to look down pages and pages of results to realize that there isn't a great deal of correlation between watts per kilo and your time. There's a whole ton of other stuff that comes into it, as well as your bike choice and your equipment choice too.
That's a great point. Awesome to hear and see what's happening with the WTRL and the new AutoCAD system. Essentially matchmaking if you're from the background of esports. And one of the main things that you've ever seen in esports, a lot of times when I've played a lot of matchmaking games going way back. And that was always one of the main tension points is how is the matchmaking happening and how are we getting, as Dave would put it, parity between the competition as best as we possibly can, so everybody's getting the best race or competition that they can find out there, and there isn't a huge disparity between all the riders. So awesome to see to have that coming on in. It's one of the things that's also, I think, going to, Martin, you can speak to this one last thing as we get into the race here for what is this going to be? We've got Eastern, we've got Western, and we've got the middle.
Central.
Central. There we go,
Yeah.
Central. But also the reality that when the cream rises to the top, and you kind of are able to identify as best as you possibly can who all these riders are, and it's based off of results. People can't hide anymore because they can't manipulate. Because if you want to win, then the motivation to win is going to naturally whittle things out. And so any kind of, trying to, here's what my FTP is here or there, or kind of messing around a little bit with what enters you where, you can't mess with that because it's just based off of why you're racing. It's based off of why you're showing up. So it takes that whole element out of it, and it's just based off of what you're after.
Yeah, and the essence of the, if you want to call it an ability group, and then as it goes further into some form of ranking or points that forces you to be promoted, we need to find a starting point for people for when they come into racing, because we're here to grow the racing community as well as general customers across Zwift. But the key thing is just to get people into racing, to get them somewhere where they're not going to get spanked, quite frankly, in a race, or somewhere where they're not going to spank everybody else, and they're going to feel like they're competitive, they're going to get a good workout, bit of fun to go with it. But then moving on from there, as people are improving, and hopefully we can keep the boundaries between those levels, if you want to call it that, closer, so that you can feel like you're progressing. As you win, or depending on your finishing places and who you've beaten and how you compare to the average Zwifter, that will in turn push you up into the next level. But the idea is not to have the next level like it is at the moment, where if you jump from C to B, you're going to get spanked for a good bit of time, until you either get stronger, find the time to train, etc., etc. So it's trying to find a balance that fits in with the seasonal side of things as well, because obviously a lot of the usual racers are out on the road and out and about in the real world at the moment. So it's a tricky task. It's certainly tested my math to the limits. But every day's a school day.
Loving it. Absolutely loving the work. We're seeing a comment come on in actually from Mike Swart saying, glad to see someone helping the community. Super excited to see first class support for the WTRL system in Zwift at some point. So Mike Swart actually a little bit local here, coming out of Madison. So great to see Mike in the chat. Thank you, Martin, for the insight there to what is happening with this new AutoCAT system, and best luck on all of the new data that you are processing over there with it. It sounds like a lot of work. So that was Martin Carew, director over at WTRL. Dave, we're into the racing. They've already gotten through the first of Otley Road. Let's take a quick look for those that are just tuning in, though, to the course. This is going to be Central Europe. This is C1s for the men. The women's side, a little bit quiet on the participation. We will focus in on them as much as we can, but the men's race with having a lot more participation. We'll jump back and forth, though, and really get the highlights there between them. But this is the course, Dave. You want to speak to it for just a moment for those who are just tuning in?
41.6 kilometers of racing out here. That translates to 25.8 miles. It's really, though, that 737 meters of climbing and the way it comes at you on this course. It's 3 laps that they'll be doing on what was the 2019 World Championship course. Now, this circuit was used for the men and the women. They raced their way from Leeds onto this circuit. So there was it's like a lollipop. This is the candy part of it, but there was a stick that led you into the race. But this is a really challenging course, as we noted with the Eastern European group that just raced, the men and the women. It's an absolute battle of attrition. It's a course that favors the breakaway, and attacking out of a small group late, Nathan, that seems to be, in general, the way that you win out here. The men's field looks like they're going to a little more of a traditional start to the race. A big group still together. Again, with 40, let's call it 42 kilometers of racing. We saw in the previous group, they got right to it. The swords were drawn and clashing within a few kilometers. Now, out here today, Nathan, these are some really big names that we can talk about here. Just looking at some of the top ranked riders on Zwift Power, you've got South African Eddie Oile with the Toyota Cryo team. Franklin Almeida is the Brazilian rider on World Elite Zwifters Oral 7. Another well-known rider and a real finisher. But then, Nathan, I think this name, Leonard Tugels, might be the most dangerous of all, the BZR Sports Solid rider presented by Lecole. He is a monster talent. And then Hassan Yassim of Wahoo Lecole is here, and Pim van Diemen. Also here, one of the breakthrough stars in the Premier League of the ZRL for the Movistar team. So formerly with Dutch Racing, Daniel Jemrosic as well.
Are we actually watching the ZRL right now? I mean,
it feels like it, doesn't it? I mean, this is a world-class field that we've got here in the middle of summer. Hey, I wanted to go back, Nathan, really quickly and say thanks to Mike Swart for his comments. Mike is part of the Nowhere Fast podcast with Zach that he does, covering esports racing.
Zach Meir? Is that who we're talking about there?
No, Zach Schuster.
Okay.
Gotcha. But also a Wisconsin person, I believe, or maybe in Minnesota now. But from your neck of the woods for sure. But they do a very interesting podcast that covers esports racing. So I'm glad to see that Mike is approving of the auto categorization that we're seeing. Or it sounds like he's on board. A lot of folks are. And
sorry, just this. 100% there with Mike there, name. And definitely check out the podcast. They're coming in from them. But Martin's here on the attack from Cryo DT. The initial punch here from them. Finesse has also showed up with Judek here. So, man, we've got the best, some of the best, as you had said. I mean, we're just going to keep on noticing names, it seems like. And I'm not surprised coming out of Central Europe. This is absolutely awesome to see. The kind of quality, and we're really gonna have a treat, I think, here for us when it comes to how this race is going to play out. Middle of the summer, these riders, I think, are maybe trying to get a little bit of taste of what they get throughout the winter here, and able to up their fitness, get a solid result in the Classics race here for race number 1 in the Yorkshire. And with 3 laps, either you're doing it for the result or the training. I mean, it doesn't get better than this as far as absolutely throwing it all down.
Yeah, you want to absolutely, Nathan. If you're going to race, let's do it and go all in. And a field like this will certainly bring out the best. I see Patrick Weir asking, are people changing their name or using an alias to hide? And I would have to say, Nathan, that what Howell was doing, I'm 95% sure he was trying to help us figure out how to pronounce his first name. That wasn't it would make a lot, because it worked, one, and unintended consequences if not. Here's a big talent, South African Eddie Oile here. And Nathan, Eddie will do some damage. I'm going to imagine that this field the front group will be down to 35, 40 riders by the time Eddie is done with this big effort.
Yeah, I think Eddie's going to definitely be able to break things apart a little bit here. This is the rider that from bottom to top, I think it was Eddie Oile on the Richmond after party that we had called. This guy's got a crazy kick. Watch out for him on any of these 30-second to 1-minute efforts. He's got an amazing punch, and he can hold on to just about any group. Cryo RDT, they've got such a talent at Eddie Oile. He's a huge asset. And having him alongside of Martin's more of a pure climber, lighter rider, I think, out there. It's got a huge watts per kilogram. Watts per kilogram here coming from Martin. So those two in the front group here for Cryo DT, Toyota Cryo DT, this is going to be all about watching those two along with Tugels. The reality of Leonard Tugels in any pack, everyone just waits for the moment that Tugels decides to just put the coals in the fire. Really, I've raced with him in 200-kilometer race, I believe it was, 100 kilometers on the weekends a lot of times, some other races here. And the guy, he's got a really big VO2. It's not necessarily his pure sprint. There's stronger sprinters. it's just a reality that if he goes to the front for 5 minutes, the pack is not even there anymore. It's just everything snaps. So a lot of times they're just waiting to see what Tugels is going to do.
And I would have to say, Nathan, going back to, was it season 3 or season 2 of the ZRL? But it must have been season 2, as one of the standout rides that we saw in Zwift community was by Leonard Tugels. I don't know if you remember that day. You literally have done thousands of races since then. But Leonard had, it's pretty rare that you see a solo breakaway at that high level succeed, especially when it goes early in the race. And there was a day where Leonard Tugels held off a strong Eastern European field by 45 seconds with the solo attack. And that was certainly a moment that you realize this is a huge talent, and he has not disappointed. Talking about the Belgian Leonard Tugels there of the BZR Sports Solid team, Franklin Almeida, Nathan, the Brazilian rider on World Elite Zwifters, he's one of the best finishers that we see out here. And if he's in a small group that goes to the line, it's hard not to imagine him posting up for the win. So we've got a lot of interesting scenarios to play out here for this is the men's central race out of Europe that we're looking at, and this first selection being made right in front of our eyes.
We just saw Eddie Uli take down that sprint section. So he takes this KOM, he takes the sprint section. This guy is on fire. I want to point out Noah Balk here, and this is a recent pickup. He was riding for On the Rivet, I believe, and it looks like he has been scouted out by Wes Earl 7. So cool to see that, in the offseason of the ZRL, there's been a little bit of jostling of the rosters here at this point. And it is going to be Noah Block riding for that newly branded, actually, as WEZ. Obviously, the Wes team, World Elite Zwifters, I believe they picked up the Earl 7 as a sponsor brand on the back end there. But it does look like Noah transferring over to that team, and 406 races, A+ rider. I've actually raced in the WTRL TTT a lot with Noah. Very, very strong rider. Always able to throw down 6 to 7 watts per kilogram on his turns. So a big addition to that team. He can throw down, and as far as sprinting goes, he's the man to watch out for too. 15.02 watts per kilogram for 15 seconds. He's got a 5 minute at 6.75 and a 5.87 for 20. So huge numbers here from Noah Balk.
Yeah, when you look at this group right now, you start wondering how many guys make it, because this selection is coming pretty early in the race.
Yeah, it's been the reality of how Eddie's been going off the front there with those kicks just really makes things difficult on all the riders there. Even with the snowball effect, you still need to be able to hang on, right? It's not easy going to be able to hang on amongst those kind of kicks from the riders. Who has made this so far? It does look like we have a lead group of it was 31. I think it's whittled down a little bit more than that at this point. I don't think, well, maybe there's 31 riders in here, Dave. I'm going to look through and see if we can.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there.
Yeah, about 31, 32 with one trying to get back on terms. There's going to be Box. I think he's fading, though, at this point. Did everything he can to WLC rider, and there's just nothing left in the tank, it looks like. That's the blow-up moment. I'm in there. I'm almost there. Oh, nope, there's a 10% gradient in front of me. So Kaidi now off the back as well from Fusion Dev. You can see how incredibly fast this has been. If you want to hang out with this front group, it has been 4.9 watts per kilogram on average. 5.2 from Jonas Kiting, actually, the rider that we just saw going off the back here. 5.3 from James Goward is the highest amongst this crowd here. So it's been almost 5 watts per kilogram for a solid 18 minutes to be involved.
Well, you kind of have to take a deep breath at this point, Nathan, and settle in as when you look at it, that completes the first of 3 laps out here. So you've survived to this point. And this is where the strong riders, the difference makers, are going to hit out again, because you can't allow, and there you go. Here it is. So this is going to be coming up and over the top, and let's see who's going to make this
Eddie,
one. I see Hasim is here. Yeah, Eddie not playing around out here today, just body blow after body blow being thrown.
Yeah, and here he goes onto Otley Road here, and it is going to be a counter there coming from Goer. Goer now 151 beats per minute, 396, 400 watts from the FCC rider here. Now Tugels, they're following it though. Watch Tugels. Just always in that fifth wheel or so, quietly sitting in. Van Geit is there as well from BZR, SP, SD. Teammates out there. We also see, I believe they've got Vanden Eckart there. So they've got a lot of, no, Vanden Eckart is actually riding for Cryo. Excuse me. I saw the Belgian flag. But they also have DeVries here. So they've got a lot of riders to cover moves. And with how quiet they've been early on and the reality of this race being a race of attrition, I have a feeling that they're just following these things while they're allowing Cryo RDT maybe to take some points and things early on, fastest across line, all and those different upfront rewards. But I think the battle here in BZR's mind is first across the finish line. And I think they're trying to set up Tugels for exactly that. They're following wheels. Now Tugels does head to the front though. Interesting enough, but only 4-6. Really, it's just everything has calmed down so much after those initial attacks.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder, now would be the time someone's going to go again here, as these guys are going to be relentless out here. I would expect that we see Leonard Tugels making another run here. You'd start, there's Leonard right in the middle of this group. Boy, welcome to esports racing for some of the new names that we're seeing out here. If you've made this front group, you certainly are showing some promise. There's Jack Haig that we're following along with here as well. Russo right in the middle of the group. I'm actually surprised, Nathan, with as aggressive as it's been, that we still see this many. This is Haig right now, the Dirt Alert rider, just fighting to stay up in this group. One surge gets you up into the draft, and what a big difference that makes. It certainly, this is the battle that you see out here. It just keeps coming at you, but he is back in the group. It looks like the comfort of the draft. Good job there.
Dirt
Way to hang
Alert
on.
here. Gonna be. I thought it was Jack Haig as well, but it's Jeff Haig.
I apologize.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. It does look like he's got 115 races under his belt. Level 26 Zwifter for that Dirt Alert team. Started Zwifting back on September, or at least racing, as a BCAT rider actually back on 26th of September. So pretty. I mean, this is of 2020. So this is a pretty new addition to the world of Zwift racing here. And we're seeing right around that 4.6. He's hanging on to a very high level right now, 182 beats per minute, because I'm seeing a 4.67 watts per kilogram from Jeff Haig. So we'll see what he can pull off here, because he's amongst world class at this point. And I have a feeling into the back end of some of these attacks, we are seeing Tugels actually. I thought he was going to wait. Nope. Heads to the front, 8.6, over the top.
Yeah.
Hettinger sees it. Chudik sees it there. Balk is going, Gamps, all the big names. Eddie Uli thinks that this might be a move at this point, because Tugels, the one thing I would say, this is not a smart move, usually. But Tugels on the front, like,
no, I completely agree, Nathan. With almost any other rider, I would say this is ill-advised. Well, in this case, if Leonard Tugels wants to roll this group, it's going to go away. And if I'm Eddie, I do exactly what he's doing and try to join, because the train is leaving the station. If you're not on it, you are not winning a bike race here in the next hour. So this is going to have everybody at the panic stations. Red alert, bike race is being made right now, and your chance to win is going up the road. It looks like these three, Nathan, they really would want to combine their efforts here. As that battle, they're certainly in the group behind, really fighting now. This is where, if you're in that the third group that we're looking at on the road, you feel like someone is trying to hold your head underwater, right? You are just fighting to get to the surface, because you realize you're in a fight for your life if you're trying to win this bike race out here today. And Nathan, we are still not even. Wow!
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this thing is blown to bits. So this is Leonard Tugels doing massive amounts of damage here in Yorkshire.
Yeah, and it is going to come back together just barely, I think. You do see people going, now look, these little gaps, they matter though. This little bit right here, somebody might snap right now and go backwards, because they're putting everything into the pedals here. It's still 2 seconds. If you don't bring these back immediately and they continue to press this pace at the front, it does look like they're going to calm right on down, but it's a lot of damage was done there. VCRT rider now off the front. It's still look at behind here. There's a whole
It's
lot
amazingly
of spreading out.
they're
still,
coming
so-
back. I mean, this could turn into a mini Peloton again here, though.
Now look,
we'll
Van
lose a
Dyke
few
here
riders.
is bringing things back. So the BZR rider here didn't jump across. He's hanging on, it looks like, and he's actually going to bring things all back together here, interesting enough. So chases down his teammate, but perhaps that was not that big of a deal to him because he was like, look, it's coming back either way. I'll get back involved here at this point. BZR, they did some damage. They were able to separate things out. I do think they put a lot of sting in the legs for a lot of the riders, so it wasn't an effort wasted or anything. Tugels, I think, was just stretching the legs. I mean, all he did was throw down a solid 1 to 2 minute effort there. Now he can sit in again and wait for the next KOM. I think he's just kind of flexing at this point to show, hey, this is what I've got in the tank. This is what I can bring to the table. And it kind of puts a little bit of fear, I think, when you go through that kind of pain. And you're like, I thought I was already working. You know, now Uli and the rest of your Martins, they're the ones with the punch when it comes to a high level kick, you know, and they're going to be waiting for those point sections maybe to try and break things apart. But again, BZR, they showed that they just showed up, and then now they've just kind of pulled the curtain back a little bit to say, here's what's actually happening in this race.
Yeah, well, and it really, when you talk about the impact that you can have, that certainly would put put fear through the rest of the field. If you weren't already aware of who Leonard Tugels and BZR Sports Solid are, you are now. That's for sure. But a little bit of a regrouping here as we see Van Geit, another one of the BZR riders. And BZR, if you weren't lucky enough to be following along with the ZRL, BZR has really become one of the super squads in ZRL. They are
right there with Canyon Esports, right? I mean, this last season, they
I would say
showed themselves to be right there with Stars to Pros Classic, Canyon Esports, right there at podium positions, winning TTTs, or at least on the top spot.
Right. Yeah, really, really impressive. You don't see many teams make that huge jump, that's for sure. So
let's go ahead and jump. I want to bring this comment in actually here from our winner of the last race, actually, and Howl Towel is his triathlon nickname, so it rhymes and people pronounce it right. So that's why he put the towel in there, and that's you were spot on there, Dave, on why it was there. Except for he wanted to make the first name and second name rhyme there. Good to see how Dave's jumping on in and hanging out with the broadcast. Solid effort there. It was the winner of the last race, actually. And amazing job done by him riding for that. I believe riding for Wahoo Lacole out there today.
I'm a big fan, no doubt, and have been for a long time. So that's cool that we're connecting some dots. And yeah, with Kiel and Howell, at least we're coming a long way on this broadcast. Van Oudenaerde is the rider of the No Pins R3R. There's a long-standing Zwift team. When you talk about R3R here.
Racer. I didn't actually recognize that he was in here. So this is going to be a rider to watch out for. Always one involved toward the back end of the race. The Belgian rider here, 174 beats per minute as they make this little climb out of the pastures. Right-hand turn in just a moment. And they'll be back in the Super Tux and their second time over the KOM.
Yeah, the kind of rider who's there when it matters, right? Which is what you're looking for in this sport. So it's only a matter of time until another flurry of attacks come out of this group. But Nathan, the riders at this level, they certainly look for the topography to, there's no point in attacking on a slight downhill leading into a downhill. You're going to be looking for a real pitch to work with here. Like an artist needs a canvas. Well, strong bike racer really needs a tough course to be able to make that difference out there.
It does look like we had a couple of riders drop off on that last attack. Will be
they shelled a few guys, didn't they?
Yeah, died out there. Also, that's actually a name I thought might be able to make this front group. So Amida not there. I mean, that's a big surprise as well. I saw Gamps go off the back, I think, too. So these are some names that got broken off here. Obviously, this was no joke when it comes to this first lap.
Listen, the only way that you're going to beat Leonard Tugels, if you're Franklin Almeida, is you have to be in the group with him that goes to the line, right? So that is a great example of how, what Leonard was doing there. You might say, well, the breakaway didn't work. Well, it did work. He eliminated one of his danger men from the front group. increasing his
Almeida,
chances of winning. So,
huge
you know,
sprint
that's
from
a
that rider. You can't let
yeah.
him sit
I
around.
think he's the fastest guy. I think Franklin is the fastest guy. If they're together at 200 meters to go, I don't know that you beat Franklin. So the name of the game is not letting him be in the group at
It's like
200
getting rid
meters
of
to go.
Cavendish. Do not bring Cavendish to the line
Exactly.
with you. Like, there's no
Exactly.
reason to do that, right? Like, if you
It's
can get
bike
him
racing
off the wheel.
101, isn't it?
Back into our second time
yeah.
over the KOM here, Dave. And what's going to happen? It looks like they've kind of calmed down. Well, I mean, calmed down at 6 watts per kilogram, but we don't see any orange numbers this time around. I think that first lap was insanely fast, and they're all kind of catching their breath this time around. They will probably go in for the sprint over the top here to try and grab some points, but we're definitely not seeing those early attacks at the bottom. I think a lot of these riders are just kind of watching and waiting for that last lap. Obviously, there's been some sting put in the legs here as we get into the second half of this KOM.
Yeah, when you look at the profile for the course that we're racing on, it is a saw blade. You're either going up or down. There's, this is going to be again. It's Leonard again, isn't it? Tugels here, the Belgian, pressing on and opening up a little bit of a gap. This looks like it'll be more than enough to pick up the top spots over the top of the climb here. I'm wondering what kind of damage. It looks like the group, Nathan, mostly staying together right now. Eddie Oiley, Hassan Yassim here, two names you'd expect to see up near the front are there.
Real quickly, just so everybody knows, we will be covering Western Europe. That's why you're seeing the joint event in the lower left-hand corner. We are currently on Central Europe C1. I did see a question coming on through from David Ashton. So you can... Whoa, Steve! What? WLC, last second there. Across the line. What a kick. And you know what's interesting, Dave? That's happened quite a few times. Learn that move, because you can definitely draft through that climb, and it does level out a little bit and gain a huge turn of speed. There is a reality of being able to punch, just basic physics, that as soon as the gradient comes down, your speeds can come way up from the acceleration. And seen this a lot actually from these riders here, those accelerations at the last moment, able to gain a lot more speed than a rider that's just been kind of in a steady, very high wattage grind, but they don't have that orange number kick. We saw Tugels actually suffering for that here at the end of that climb. A little bit of a chase group behind, but this has been completely split. And Tugels actually has whittled this down to 5 riders, 2 riders on the chase. I don't think anybody's coming back to this now besides me. Well, there's a group behind here. They're going pretty. There's a lot of bodies here. There's a lot of bodies here.
So, and I'm wondering now who's missed out. They're going to want to work together, that's for sure. It looks like everybody kind of into desperation mode right now.
Gotta be honest, what drives me crazy is not seeing any little orange number kicks here. Like like knowing that they can get into super tuck, high speed, and maybe there's just nothing left in the legs though, as they descend. But I mean, I would be working together with each one of these riders to just boost the speed, boost the speed, boost the speed. Does look like Martin's going to get across there here, though. The German rider, they're coming from finesse, hanging on the back. He's actually using an aero power-up, which tells you that he is in trouble. To use an aero power-up right there to get back on terms at 184 beats per minute, this is full gas at the front. Tugels backs it off, though, seeing that the group is going to come back together.
Yeah, you can see he recognizes how dangerous the moment is, though, and really, stepping up and responding. That is a huge effort at just past the midpoint of this race. So Hassan Yassim, the Wahoo Lacole rider, is having a tremendous day as we're picking up again the vanguard of the race here. Martin Mertens there, the Toyota Cryogen rider, Pettinger. As we take a look around, it's really an elimination game that we're witnessing out here, Nathan. This group slowly, after effort being made at the front, and again, here we see another, it looks like that was going to be Balch. Here comes Yassim.
Oh,
boy,
I think Eddie I think Eddie was able to grab that one. I'll have to take a look here real quickly at the replay.
Eddie Oiley
missed it there. I think Eddie Oiley just continues to show us that he's got an amazing kick across each one of these lines actually here. Looking at that situation, and Hassim now with Eddie Oiley and Noah Block here. Balk here off the front guard, though, is going to chase it down from the FCC team. Nice little kick coming in from him. But if we look at the replay, Hasim, head to head, Eddie, all together here at this point. Let's see if the camera was able to catch it right to the
Looks like Eddie
line.
just gets
I
it.
think he
Yeah.
did. I think just barely by like half a bike length, perhaps, across the line there.
Boy, they are paying a price back in the what you'd call the front group. I mean, look how ragged this is now, Nathan, after these just monster efforts being made. The group gets smaller and smaller as they are punching tickets at the back. And we're definitely down to less than 20 riders in contention at this point.
I want to give a quick shout out
Just
to the
about
women's race here, real quick, Dave. Just we do have two riders off the front, McKinley and Kerr, that are battling it out in the women's race. We will be also jumping in with the women's Western Europe in about 26 minutes or so from now. We might have to jump across to that race to get into the event, but it is going to be McKinley and Kerr. We'll see how this ends up playing out between the two of them. They are 20K into their race, a lap and a half in or so at this point. And it's going to be Z Scott, Electric Spirit Company off the back with Loker. So this is the a little bit, obviously, much smaller participation here for Western Europe amongst the women here, but good to see them out there putting an effort in, and Z Scott and McKinley, they're out there representing. So jumping in quickly over there,
looks
now
like
back in with the men's race.
most of the women jumped in with the Eastern group because that was not a small field that we saw. So I could see how that would work as well with the races being close together. If you were looking at that, I would see how most would have opted to go with the larger field that raced just over an hour ago.
Goward continues on, it looks like here, Dave. He really has been pressing the pace over and over again. More of a pure FTP rider, it seems like, though. We haven't seen a lot of punches from him necessarily, but just this kind of steady, very high watts per kilogram to try and keep the pressure on the entirety of the time. My question is, how experienced is Goward, though, with these kinds of efforts off the front? Because it's not going to do a whole lot besides get an amazing workout, I think, when it comes to these kind of pushes on the front. Everybody else is just going to be sitting in at a steady 5 to 4 watts per kilogram.
That really becomes one of the things as you move into the advanced level where we are right now with racing is, having the efforts that you make, having a logical reason for them. And he's going to go right back into that group. So that wasn't a big calorie burn there, just a couple moments off the front as we take a look at some regrouping here. And you get the feeling it won't be for long as Harlow Hill forward climb. One more trip up each of those will certainly sort things out. If you've survived to this point, put a feather in your cap as taking a look around, doing some inventory right now. I think most of the names, Daniel Pettinger is there. Most of the riders that we expected to see in this group are still here, Nathan, as they complete lap 2 of 3.
Yeah, it's going to be David Desmet from Gen Z is one rider that I'm actually not very familiar with that has made this front group here. Thomas Val there from Z-Sun is also in amongst this group. A couple other names I'm looking through here. Nelson Pinto from TCP.
James Young.
James Young, another
James
one.
Young has had a good day
Doggos.
today.
Yeah, not one I'm familiar with either. Oliver Simones, actually off the back, excuse me. So it is going to be 15 riders here on the front. But Goward again, Dave, off the front here with this same kind of effort.
Well, and I'm not familiar with Goward. There have been a few riders today that have showed up on my radar for the first time. And I'm impressed with the strength. And I have a feeling we're going to hear more about Goward here. I'm not even finding him on my start list right now. Where does he even come in? A
moment ago, I saw Goward on the start list. We'll see if we still... yeah, James Goward, FCCC, he's there. It looks like, looking through, level 33 Zwifter, he's got a no kick. So 100%, there's the highest watts per kilogram that we've seen from this rider when it comes to a 15 seconds.
So you know what he's doing then? My logic would be he does not want to sprint. He wants to ride in a small group. So he's looking for a couple riders to come with him. He's putting an invitation out there. That's what these are not test attacks, but I think he's wanting to see, does anybody want to ride in a breakaway out of this front group with me? That has to be an invitation.
100%. I think that's exactly what's happening. The same move that we saw last time is happening again. Leonard Tugels.
He needs to go with Leonard Tugels. Exactly.
This is the
Like,
moment, and this is a lot earlier than last lap here, Dave. Two Eagles did this after the halfway point in this climb. This is the first fourth of the climb, and I think you might be able to open up a solid 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, and the group is much smaller behind. It's not going to roll up easily.
you know, how cruel is Tugels, right? Letting Goward do that a couple of times and burn a match or two and then attacking over the top just to make his life that much more miserable, as that is some real bike racing going on. So Martin Mertens and Lennart Tugels, the German and the Belgian here, very dangerous two riders with less than a lap to go. I don't know that you could choose a worse two to send off the front if you're back in that peloton, and here comes Goward. So he's going to respond, Nathan. If anybody deserves to be up in this break, it would be him. I really do believe that that's what he was trying to do, was to light that fuse.
Eddie here just controlling. I think he's controlling. I think he's just 6 watts per kilogram is not trying to go across. Maybe it's just not the ability. And Martins, he said, okay, go ahead, Martins. Take off with Tugels. You've got the power. You've got the consistent power to do so. Eddie's more of the sprinter amongst the crowd here. Martins is more as that high watt per kilogram, can stay with Lennart perhaps. And I think the idea here for Cryo RDT is they're sit in for these riders that got the kick. If other teams want to pull this back, fine, and then allow Martins to go off the front with Tugels and at least get a podium spot.
Well, and so you look at these surges coming from Goward here, trying to go across, the FCCC rider looking to join our two leaders, and it looks like he's going to make it. Yeah, I'm definitely pulling for him, Nathan, at this point, and he is going to join. So nobody tried harder to get a break going out of that front group, and here we go. This is the vanguard now. 3 riders have come together.
Goward
dropping into the super tuck like a pro.
67 kilometers per hour over the top here. Watch the speed here. Noah Blauk is not going to like this. WEZ. Pettinger there from Vision. Schudick there also coming in from Finesse. BZR is going to sit in. They've got representation here with 2 riders. It is going to be Van Geit as well as De Vries. Now we do see, though, WEZ, they're going to be the ones that are going to want to chase this down. But I think it's only going to be Noah, actually, that's got any kind of representation here for them. They're trying to work together with VCRT, perhaps. Eddie's not going to do a whole lot of work there. He's got somebody up the front, so it's going to be up to Pettinger, Chudik, as well as Young and Balk here at this point. Maybe Hassim as well from WLC. Wahoo Cole could come over to the top as well, try and put some work in and bring that back.
James Young also here, but I agree with you, Nathan. I think the big loser in this situation has to be Hassan Yassim of the Wahoo Lacole team, as he's been very active, looked really strong today, but just missed this move. And I have to believe that if he could go back a couple of minutes in time, he would have tried to stay with that when Lennart Tugels surged. That was a big moment that quietly happened out here, but I think that was where the race was won and lost for quite a few riders.
Yeah, it looks like this move here at 18 seconds, it is going away. I don't think this is coming back. And the reality of these solo riders that don't have teammates and they know that these other teammates are sitting in, they know that Van Geit, they know that Uli have a lot of power in the legs at this point. So bringing anything back at this point is going to be so difficult because you're just working for somebody who's just going to sprint you at the line.
And I mean, Lennart Tugels is sitting on 7 watts per kilo right now. They are riding away. It's sitting at 18 seconds, but just like we saw in the women's race with Alessia Polemi and Alice Lethbridge a few minutes ago, I'm expecting that gap. All of a sudden, it'll go up to 30 once they break the will of the peloton. This is the moment. I couldn't even call that a peloton. That's Chase 1 that we're looking at right now, the group with Balch here of the World Elite Zwifters team. Back to the front of the bike race. This is Lennart Tugels, along with Goward and the cryogen rider, Martin Mertens. I apologize there. But this is interesting. Lennart Tugels is attacking out of that small group. So Tugels is not going to lay back. He's not going to give anyone any kind of a break out here as Tugels, or excuse me, it's Goward. I apologize. Goward is attacking off of the front. I thought that was Lennart Tugels there.
Tugels
in the white jersey.
Martin's here. They're. I think this is the smarter move from these two, perhaps, as they snowball their way through here. Goward though cuts up into about 7 watts per kilogram. 2 goes over the top.
I would
Goward.
have anticipated. Yeah, I would expect Goward to wait for that move to a little bit later. He clearly doesn't want to sprint with anyone today, which makes sense when you look at his power profile. But these two going to reset things here. Interesting moment, though.
Goward hanging on, it looks like here, 7-1. And we do see it looks like Martin's here now at the front here, 6 watts per kilogram now, just making things difficult. 20 seconds back to Balk, and the rest not going to be happening, it looks like here, for that chase group, as these three are a little bit of infighting now, working pretty well together at these steady, what I would say, very high team time trial type numbers. Actually 351 watts here currently coming from Martin's, actually at his weight to 5.7 watts per kilogram, flying. Van Geit controlling at 4.2 just a moment ago, so just keeping things in those lower 30s as they climb out of the pastures for their final lap. Tugel's now back to the front at 6.6 watts per kilogram as they head back toward their final time up the KOM.
I cannot find Goward on my Zwift Power profile here. What is his first name?
I believe it's Frank. Or no, Jay. I'm seeing Jay here. Excuse me. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me or what.
James.
But,
James Goward. James Goward.
Huh. Well, he is certainly impressive out here today. That's the black jersey in our 3-rider front group that has taken it up. So at 21 seconds now. So they haven't added a lot to their advantage, but they're not giving anything back. And James Goward here, just really, really impressive. Tremendous amount of energy here in this group. I hope he's applying it correctly, as these two have got to be scratching their heads a little bit as these sort of micro attacks coming out of the breakaway aren't doing the break any favor.
No, and it's just
right
gonna
now.
be it's just gonna be a lot of I mean, maybe he's just trying to break them at this
This is
point here,
frustrating.
Tugels. Yeah, you can see
Yeah, I mean,
Tugel's getting a little bit frustrated with it here, coming across there in those orange numbers as Goward continues to just kind of grind a big gear there. I think people are going to be scratching their heads. Maybe some questions coming in as well. Newer rider, coming on in. We may need some verification across the board here. Just calling it as we see it a tad here as it continues on off the front. But solid effort here coming in from him. Tugels, Martin's here as well. I have a feeling that Tugels and Martins might start thinking,
well, and here's a
Howard
good
gets off the front, we might allow him to go, and we'll see what the results end up being at the end of the day. If it's because a lot of times when I'm in those situations and I know that the organizers are handling things, well as WTRL do, I'll trust them at the end of the day. If something seems just impossible for me to follow, it's just impossible, So Tugels, though, he's going to show how impossible it is to follow him here at 9 watts per kilogram almost, and perhaps it doesn't matter because Tugels is just one of those kinds of riders.
I would agree, Nathan. Leonard has proven himself to be one. I mean, if you want to look at who are the top 10 riders based on profile in the sport, Leonard is definitely in my top 10. One of the most dangerous riders who races aggressively, has always shown courage out here and has backed it up. It's just a proven commodity, no doubt about it. So, I mean, if there was ever a rider that I would be terrified of having in a solo breakaway late in a race on a challenging course, it would be the Belgian Leonard Tugels. And Leonard is doing what Leonard does right now, Nathan, a solo attack and pretty much ending all question marks or making it easy. That's going to be Martin Mertens there. It looks like he might be going back to the peloton.
Yeah, and is he working for Eddie at this point, perhaps? He's put in everything he possibly can. I mean, maybe he just can't respond any longer, and he's going back, and he could put in an effort there for Eddie Uli here. But now, at 22 seconds, Tugels is just walking away. We said it at the beginning of the race here, and this is exactly what we had talked about. He can just set that crazy high effort here over these shorter kicks now. But it's not like a punch. It's more of this, he did this bottom to top and then rest through and then go back into that 7-8 watts per kilogram for quite a while here. Tugel's just an amazing.
Look who's coming back. Here. Yeah. What's amazing is Goward is still there and he's closing this down. As a matter of fact, he is raging now. He's going to come up and make the pass as Goward goes by. This is incredible. I mean, Leonard
Tugles
Tugles has
responds.
got to be shaking his head right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
here we go.
187 beats per minute here from Tugles. It's not a rider you usually see on the limit now. Tugles now 4.999 watts per kilogram.
We've never
Trying to
seen
look
this
to get
before.
into this 57 kilometers per hour. Not sure he's going to get there. Now it's only 54. And it looks like Goward's going to walk away with this one most likely. We'll have to wait and see how that ends up getting a response in just a moment, though, from Tugles.
We still have 4K to go, but I don't think that Leonard Tugles has been challenged like this. Now, typically, Nathan, he's solo on the front racing against a small chase group rather than one rider who's just able to go toe-to-toe with him. It's turned into a prize fight at the front. Again, we're in with the Belgian Leonard Tugles. James Goward, the FCCC rider, has gone up and over the top, opening up a 3-second advantage right now, and it looks like it's down to these two as far as I wouldn't expect anyone to close down a 19-second gap. You can see that's where James Young of VCRT is. So this is the chase that we're looking at now. Last-ditch effort here as Martin Mertens has gone back to that group. That's his teammate Eddie Oile, the South African here. But I think that they've run out of real estate, to tell you the truth, Nathan. This two-rider battle going on the front here, and it looks like James Goward is riding away with this one. A stunning performance here in Yorkshire.
Tugles looking to try and get across to Goward here. It looks like 8 watts per kilogram on this uphill section in just a moment now. Goward here, only 158 beats per minute. I do think that this is going to get looked at pretty under a microscope, though.
That's an incredibly low heart rate for what he should be going through.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this isn't a name and shame type of situation whatsoever at all. Like, this is more of a, well, let's just make sure that things are, real when it comes to the power situations here, and solid effort and great job out there for Goward for throwing down. I do have a feeling that we are going to see a change up, though, in the results at the end of the day. That's just my feeling. I'm not an official, though, and we'll see how that ends up playing out. Feelings are not facts, so we'll see how that plays out here. Doodles, though, he's looking to come across to Goward, it looks like, and he does do so, as Goward did back.
He does.
Yep, and so now we may have a sprint to the line here in this situation. Goward may also just have a really low heart rate. There are situations where we do not know riders. I don't want to make too many assumptions.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. Exactly.
That's once in a while, all of a sudden you're like, no. And I actually, up front, I'll be honest, I called out Tugles and got called out myself. And early on, didn't believe his power situation.
You make a great
and then
point.
I went ahead
Leonard
and
Tugles
came back. I came back to the socials and was like, I was wrong. This guy's the real deal. So,
That's a great
can't
point,
make too many
Nathan.
assumptions.
What you have to recognize that Leonard Tugles went through exactly what we're talking about with Goward 6 months ago, where he was doing things that all credit due. We'll let it all sort itself out. But right now, I'm going to say that James Goward has certainly turned a lot of heads. This is an incredible ride, one way or another. Let's bring these guys home as they're down to just about a K.5. Leonard Tugles has met another Leonard Tugles type human being out here, as I don't think any of us expected to see this. Two riders together.
Whoa. 6 seconds. What is going on?
They are coming back.
The sprint section made it happen. This might come down to a sprint here. Now it's Toyota RDT.
You can see they are just up the road, that 6 second gap. Let's watch how this goes, as they're going to be down to 1K to go here pretty quickly. It's going to be touch and go.
Tugles is a smart one out of the situation here, because he's sitting at 3.6 watts per kilogram. He's waiting for that final moment with enough landscape to just work with, and he's allowing Goward to do all the work on the front. Allow this man to just do work after work after work.
Perfect.
Tugles to the front here. Now 6 seconds, though. Chudik there. Balk, Young. This could come right down to it.
Yeah, I mean, they are not clear in any way at this point. So this is now going to be Leonard Tugles. Look at the numbers. Oh, what a throwdown here. So Leonard Tugles says the time is now. He's got a little more than half a K. It looks like Nathan Tugles is like a cat playing with a mouse. He's batted him around a little bit, but this should be a command performance from the Belgian Leonard Tugles. Boy, was he tested out here today. It's still not over. That chase group comes incredibly close. They were
Goward again. 7 watts per kilogram. The chase group was within 8 seconds. I mean, Dougal's better have a solid kick, though, over the top of here.
Unbelievable. This one is still not over. I thought Tugles was going to be putting the brass tacks in. This group now is still in the conversation. We're looking at the chase with Eddie Oiley, but it is now the catch
Tugles
being
has
made
to grab this wheel now.
over the top, and he's gone. James Goward has gone clear. Goward now is your leader, and he's thrown an arrow power up.
Oh
now Tugles responding. Body blow after body blow.
Burrito power up. Burrito power coming on through, and he's going to go on 11 watts per kilogram and just hold on. Leonard Tugles makes it happen. You thought he was gone. It comes back. Goodness. He's off the back. He brings it back again. Leonard Tugles makes it such a great race out here today. And now Goward might get caught. Cryo RDT coming on strong. Tugles is going to win the race. Solid effort from our man here, but here comes Cryo RDT with one last ditch effort here. Goward's trying to hold on here. 11 watts per kilogram here coming in from Eddie Ooley now. As Ooley, there it is, right to the line. Not going to happen, though, and it's a third, followed up by Chudik for fourth. Bout four.
Wow.
Woo.
I don't think I don't think I've seen a race go back and forth so many times in the last 5K. Leonard Tugles won that bike race 3 different times. You don't see that much, right?
The bike race 3 times. 4:28 to the start.
He won the same
Western
race 3 times. Yeah. Wow.
4:28 to the start
amazing.
of our next race out here, just so everybody knows. We'll take a look at the replay here in just a moment. Martin, do you want to come on in and take a little break here if needed, and Dave and Martin's going to come on in for a just an explanation. I know here from there was a question that came in that I definitely want to answer about how to get the signed up. There were some people asking about sign-ups and maybe a little bit of confusion about how to sign up for these races actually, and maybe perhaps they didn't see them on the actual Zwift website. Maybe they're heading to the wrong place to find these. Actually, I'm seeing Drew Camsey here come on in with this question. So Martin from WTRL is actually with us for all these broadcasts. If you didn't know, he hangs out for them. And Martin, do you want to go ahead and answer this question for them as things have changed up with the new AutoCAT system?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, we've been utilizing what Zwift refer to as secret events. That means they don't appear in the companion app. The only time they will come in the companion, you will see them in your own companion app, is when you click on that link. It has a code within it. It's decoded by Zwift. In doing with the AutoCAT system, what we're essentially doing is working out where we think you should be from whatever event history we can get hold of for the last 90 days. Obviously, if we can't get, if there is no event history, it's very hard to place you. And the last thing we want to do is place you in a race that's too hard or place you in a race that's too easy, because that will just upset everybody around you. So essentially, WTRL.racing, head to the Zwift Classics pages. On there is a button for event sign up. You can get to it from within the menu as well. All the events are listed there by time, and you'll see a button called join next to it. Click on that. The system will go ahead and do its best to find the right place for you, and the more recent history you have, the better chance it's got of getting you accurately placed quickly. It should then take you, if you do it on a mobile device, it should take you straight to the companion app, assuming it's installed on there. If not, it'll take you to the Zwift.com website, where you will need to be logged in. If you get a message saying, oops, we can't find that event, chances are you're not logged in. If you log into Zwift, go back, press the join button, it should take you back to exactly the same point, where you'll be able to click on the A pen for the men or the B pen for the women.
Yeah, so there it is. If you're looking to try and sign up, you're like, what's going on here? WTRL.racing should be a pretty good walkthrough for whatever events. And they actually have some updates. I've noticed you've been updating the website there, Martin, with a lot of cool new pages and able to kind of like separate out which each one of the events are. It's WTRL TTT that are going on. There's Zwift Classics going on. Any other events to talk about there too?
We've got the final of the Duathlon Season 2 series that goes tomorrow. That's essentially a 35-minute bike and a 50-minute cycle. 50-minute run with a 10-minute transition in between, and it's how far you can bike and run in those allocated times. And there's a club element to it this season, which has been quite interesting. But then we've got Zwift Running League kicking off in 10 days exactly today.
So much
a week
going
on Friday.
WTRL. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And
busy.
Head on over to WTRL to check more of that out. Always great to have Martin in here on the broadcast. Let us know what's going on in the background with all of the obviously data and organization that is happening. Again, you're watching the Zwift Classics. You want to get involved, head on over to WTRL.racing. Apple Lap is next week. A lot of KOM climbing on the Apple Lap next week. It's a pretty cool history around how that race has been won. There's actually been 4 different ways not 4 different ways. There were 4 times I looked back at the exact same thing happened while I was doing the research for the Insider Zwift Race Knowledge. 3 of them were at the exact same literal point out on course, and one of them was the same kind of idea. So make sure to check out that feature over on World of Zwift this next week. But definitely pretty awesome the way that's played out.
Have you recorded your the Apple Lap?
Yeah, the
edition?
Apple Lap it's in production. It's in production for sure. Ready to go. So pretty excited about that.
I have to say, for the folks out there who enjoy the racing, that has been an incredible feature. There is so much that you can learn, and I'm already looking forward to learning more about the Apple Lap. It's going to become required reading, as they say.
Looking through, and I mean, it's definitely been, even watching it back, because like you record it and then watching it back, I was like, oh, because you're like, you're recording and you're just saying like all the stuff you're like, and you do a bunch of different takes and whatever, and then you watch it back and you're like, wow, that was kind of cool. Actually, that I learned a lot from myself by watching it, the way it got put together. So anyways, it's fun to do as well.
Wasn't that quite a race that we just witnessed there? I felt so emotional in that final few K. At one point it looked like those 2 were gone for sure. And then all of a sudden I thought Leonard Tugels was actually going to have James Goward, crush his chances in that last 500 meters. And then Tugels comes back with the peloton actually ultimately catching Goward, or not the peloton, the chase group, making that catch. This was one of the most fantastic finales that we've seen all year.
Yeah, pretty awesome. As you can see, the Tugels here on the attack. Yeah, Goward ends up coming back later. I mean, this was absolutely, as you said there, Dave, this was one of the best race moments that we've seen in quite a while, actually, amongst the esports racing out here. So amazing result there from Leonard Tugels, able to take things down, obviously. You do see this is the final moments as Goward's trying to come back. Eddie Uli trying to come over the top, unable to make it happen. Tugels wins. Uli settles for 3rd. We'll have to wait and see what the results actually end up playing out for. But let's go ahead and bring those in, actually, and then we'll head back into the racing. Just getting going. Out on course here for the women, I believe, just going out on course, and the men will bring them in as well in just a second. But here is situation for the result out there today. And in the A category, go ahead and take it away for us there, Dave.
Well, James Goward, if I have the correct James Goward, works in, what's the best way to put this? The prosecutor's office. So in Brooklyn, New York. So I have a feeling he's on the up and up, to tell you the truth. Oh, actually, that must be a different James Goward. Then I see that he's out of the United Kingdom. But Leonard Tugels taking the win. And you can see that over 55 minutes, that one went back and forth as James Goward put on quite a show out there, taking the silver medal. South African Eddie Oily ends up in 3rd for the bronze. And then it's Choidik for 4. Actually, for 4th place there. Balch in am I missing something there? There's no tie, is there? No. So fourth place for Choidik, fifth for Balch. Somehow I feel like I'm off schedule
No,
here.
yeah, it's third and third. Interesting enough. So
Something happened there, right? But so
looks
Balch
like, I
in
think
fifth.
we have
Young for
11
sixth.
riders in maybe we have 11 riders in here.
11 in the top 10 would make sense for the way that race played out. But let's go with Tugels for the win, Goward for second, Oile for third, Choidik fourth, Balch fifth, Young sixth, Mertens seventh, Van den Ekelt in eighth, Desmecht in ninth, and Van Git in 10th.
It may be also maybe something's trying to update there with the results to clear things up a little bit. I'm not positive. We'll have to wait and see. On the women's side of things, I think they may still be out on course racing. So wait for those results.
They had a
come on.
smaller group, so less
Much
draft
smaller group,
dynamics
less draft,
to
less
use. Yeah.
speed. I mean, there's just a reality there that they're still out on course. So we'll jump in with them and the results here as soon as we possibly can. Now, we do have the next race, though, up and ready to go for the women. This will be the last that we are covering, the women as well as the men in the Western European. And it is going to be Jet Van Hooling is here, Dave. I know that's one of your favorite riders. Arce is here. I mean, this may be a small crowd, but it is got some parity amongst it. And I think we're going to see a battle here between these riders.
Interesting. So Liz Van Houweling is racing. You recognize that name? Must be a relative. I'm going to guess sister of Molly Van Houweling or sister-in-law of Molly Van Houweling racing. We'll have to figure that out. The Pro Vision rider, Cassandra Rush in our field. Jane Despas. Nathan, I saw she was signed up for the Central race, and I think she might have just shifted over to jump in with the women, or actually, maybe she's not in this race either right now.
I thought I saw Jane jump in, but perhaps she decided it wasn't the day for it today. So
yeah, so Marina Arce comes in as without a doubt the top ranked rider. The Aeonian rider out of Argentina. Had some strong results throughout the year.
Looking to see if we can find the riders out here as well for the men's race. And I think that we have jumped in with them here. I'm just going to double check and make sure that we don't got this incorrect. But we do have the men's race. It looks like just making their way through the
couple Japanese riders, Nathan, which is cool to see.
For the Jet team, the Jet team is pretty cool, actually. They've been showing up a lot with the ZRL, actually, so it's really good to see them out here and hammering away.
Yeah, definitely. The Zwift Warriors were fun to watch in the ZRL, and I have a feeling we're starting to see racing really catching on, e-racing really catching on in Japan. Endo Chigusa and Masako Adachi are the two Jet riders that we have with us, so big welcome to them.
We're going to jump back on over to the men's race now as we were able to get them out on course here. It looks like Skyweb have shown up. Team Vegan. Veratis is here as well with Fellow. Always. Now that name, if that's going to be, I wonder if that's going to be Fellows or just Fellow here. I think it's just Fellow here. The rider coming to Portugal now. Yeah, Gucci there also from Jet. So it looks like Jet with some representation. Nielsen there from Fusion is also showing up, and that's one of those teams that just made it into the Premier League, actually, from the community in ZRL this past season 3 in that final playoff situation. F Cancer team off the front here a little bit, though, with Andrade.
Yeah, I'm noticing that we've got Mathieu de Coq jumping in with us, BZR Sports Solid rider, another talent in this field coming back. I have a feeling probably getting outside, it's probably been just beautiful watching the Tour de France. It looks like it's been a nice summer in Europe, that's for sure. So good to see Mathieu de Coq in with us, and BZR Sports Solid looking to go back-to-back with wins out here. Look at this rider moving up right now here with the yellow Tron bike.
Yeah, this is Diavola. This is actually one of the favorite teams of our fashion police, Anna Russell. Diavola.
She's a big fan.
Fan of the Deepak Elite crew. Be on the watch out for these boys. And Vola, I'm not surprised one bit that he just kind of like, oh, I found myself off the back a little bit. Need to cover this and not get into a bad position. But as far as somebody that can take this race out here today, this is one of them for sure. Watch out for this Belgian rider.
Yeah, completely agree, Nathan. One of the big talents that we've got. Just to hit the reset button for anybody who's just joining us, it's already been a really fun day. We're getting our Zwift Classics season underway out in Yorkshire today. This was the 2019 World Championship course, and there's a great look at the circuit. You can see that the climbing just comes at you over and over. You never really catch a break out here through the almost 42 kilometers of racing over 3 laps, but 737 meters that's distributed in a way to really optimize the pain, I would say, Nathan. This is a racer's course, no doubt about it. And 3 laps for the men and women today. This is the front group of the men that we're looking at now. The story of the day has been attrition, to tell you the truth. Just about every time you see one of these upward pitches here, as we were joking earlier, this clearly looks like a saw blade of pain as you look at the profile here. And every time the road goes up, Nathan, we see riders getting dropped. It's just a reality of how rugged it is on a day like today.
Yeah, definitely. This course is nonstop attrition. That is the name of the game today. Press the pace on each and every one of the punchy climbs. Hang on if you can, and be a part of the moves as they are made, or make the moves, but be careful, because if you might find yourself off the back pretty quickly. Fabi and Diavola there, Deepak sitting in. I'm going to be watching this rider the entire way through. Andrew Gads is here from Draft. Good to see. And this is a very active community member. Always good to see him in and amongst the crews here. Father as well. So not riding for the dirt team, but definitely has dirt in his life. So good to see you guys are out there hammering away.
It's funny. If you weren't familiar with what you're talking about, you'd think, oh, that's too bad. He's got some dirt on him, huh? But around here, that's a good thing. That definitely means that you're a dad indoors riding on trainers, and you're part of a group of a couple thousand at a minimum of dirt riders. So dirt is a big pat on the back in our world.
Diogo
You're a dirt,
Calcutta.
honest,
I am
Nathan.
a dirt. I am a dirt.
Yeah,
I am a dirt, 100%. This rider going
I love
off the
that
front
community.
here for Viriativius, I'm going to say here. It says he's a dad of 2 little cutties. Good to see. So another one that is inside riding trainer, but he's riding for Viriativius out here. I'm going to see what this team is all about.
I like the courage here early in the race. We're talking about riders attacking, basically sending an invitation to someone come with them, because at this point in the race, with a long way to go, I would imagine 2-3 riders this company would be ideal here. Let's see if anybody wants to get up and get in the mix here. I learned, I'm not sure if you were involved in that online conversation, Nathan, what Electric Spirit Company is all about. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah.
They make gin, right?
They make gin. Yeah. They're that's why it was spirits. So I had no idea. I thought it was something
me
else.
either.
And so this,
but they've been really supportive.
I'm liking this guy's. I'm really liking this guy's profile. Actually, he's really on top of things. He's got a dual source. He's puts in exactly what he weighs with his. I mean, he's checking all the boxes here. This guy. For verification, actually. This rider out of Portugal on a Neo. Yeah, he's on a Neo 2T since the beginning of 2020. I mean, that's about as solid as it gets. Yeah, and so solid effort here. With this kind of effort this early, though, I'm wondering if he's just really burning the match. I mean, that was full gas. Now, his teammate here on the front a little bit, maybe not chasing him down. I did just see just a moment ago it was going to be Abrantes trying maybe to just control things a little bit.
I think we're witnessing an aggressive race tactic, to tell you the truth. I have a feeling that this is a play for a teammate, but I like what we're seeing here. Realizing we've got 42 kilometers of racing, but you can see that they're having a major impact on how the storyline is going to play out today. And that's not easy to do at this level, to tell you the truth, to be able to impact the first quarter of the race and again, really set the story in motion. Well, that's exactly what they're doing at the Veritat team.
Yeah, and it looks like Abrantes as well as Pedro Nunes are going to be in here for them. And this team, they're not messing around. I'm
So
looking through them. 2021 Zara verified here for
no, they're
Abrantes.
legit, aren't they? I'm with
Super
you.
legit.
This,
I'm looking through all
yeah,
this. He's live streaming as well, it looks like. Abrantes over on YouTube. A lot of Strava on there as well. 2019 UCI Grand Fondo World Championships qualifier for Abrantes. He's been racing second, first. I mean, this is top level here when it comes to these guys. Pedro Nunes as well, taking this super seriously. He's an A-plus rider, winning the PTZ Bodolum just recently on the 6th last week. He won the Oh My Crit double race back on May 20th. This is a team that's now on my radar. I mean, not just on my radar.
agreed.
I watch out season 4 is what I'm saying. Like, is this going to be a ZRL community team that suddenly just says, "Hey, we are here to
No,
dominate"?
Nathan, this is sort of like when you first heard about Beast Mode, or like I have a feeling that this is a team that will be a big part of the conversation for ZRL Season 4, and that's exciting. Portugal is a nation that has been just ready to make a major move in esports. I think that moment has arrived.
Yeah, it's great to see. Now, we do have the attacks coming on here for the sprint sections. I think it was Nunez able to take that out. We missed the image there for just a moment. Nielsen now coming over the top. This may be a counterattack, and these are the moments you have to be careful about because those kicks of speed for those sprint points can turn into a breakaway pretty quickly here as you let Nielsen get off the front with Nunez here. Divola now just following it up. I think the pack is just large enough behind that they're not going to be super interested for any kind of continuance, though. But behind these riders here, Electric Spirit Company, Jay Reese here, as well as Cross. Cross is Sam. I don't think Cross is going to see this front group again, and that's what we're talking about. Is the reality of these sprint sections can very quickly snap anybody off the back who's struggling at all at these points.
Adam Thorpe and Tim Humpton, two strong riders from the Electric Spirit Company that we were just talking about. There's the Scottish flag of Humpton right there as we see a little bit of regrouping happening at the front right now. Very aggressive first lap out here. First of 3 laps on the Yorkshire World Championship circuit.
And we've got
start to take some inventory.
Yeah, no, we got a group of 10, it looks like, off the front, I believe, here for the inventory now. Is the Electric Spirit Company do have 2 riders. WZ or 7 are there as well. We've got the 3 riders that have all made it from Virtuous. So the battle, I think, here is going to be watching that team. Or did one of the riders get dropped? I'm looking through here.
I think one did get dropped, actually.
Nunez is here. Abrantes is here. Did the right? Oh no, Calcatta's there. Calcatta's there. Yeah, so we have 3. We have 3 still.
Yeah. There's Abrantes. Starting to get a feel. So the orange jersey, is that Electric Spirit Company then?
They are using that orange jersey. There
we go. That makes sense. So this is your front group. As you can see, a little bit of reshuffling going on. It's only a matter of time as they get a preview of the finishing, the last part of the circuit here. Although, if you're racing at this level, you're going to be well aware of how Yorkshire plays out as they make their way back into Harrogate here.
Yeah, we had a little bit of question coming on in. What are we watching? We are watching Yorkshire Grand Prix, the Classics, race number 1, and it is going to be Western Europe C1 that we are in and involved with. There's also a women's race going on. We'll keep eyes on that, and we do have 3 off the front in the women's race at this moment as they come over the top of their first time over the Queen of the Mountain and into their sprint section. As we said, it was going to be Van Howling and Arce, as well as Adachi from Jet that were able to get away. 3R with Krom and Endo trying to chase things back, but I think these 3 are absolutely gone at this point. That's the situation here for the women's race. In the men's race, they're just about to start lap number 2 for our 3rd race of the day for the Zwift Classics, as the most aggressive so far for the teams and the riders is going to be, I believe, Virates with Calcutta, who has continued to be at the front, and he did take out that King of the Mountains jersey. Now they're going to start their 2nd lap, though, and head on to Otley Road again that section of course over and over again has been very trying for these riders, as it is the longest climb. Is it? Is it longer than the KOM? I mean, at 1.9 kilometers, it's not as sharp, but I think it is a little bit longer.
I think the length is longer, and it certainly is a launch pad, isn't it? Where this is where, well, actually, this is where the breakaways have been padding their advantage and building up that gap that they've been trying to hold on to out here on what is, Nathan, I know a lot of folks, like as far as just riding on Zwift, Richmond isn't incredibly popular. But for people who love esports and racing, Richmond is a great course. I think that Yorkshire and Richmond are the two best. What as far as for a fit racer who likes a challenging course, am I on to something there? Are those going to make most of the riders that you know's favorite too?
I mean, Harrogate, I believe. Oof. I think Harrogate.
What would you have, if you had to guess, right? Which is the most popular course for racers?
Popular course. Yeah, I'd say Harrogate is going to be one of the most popular courses. This UCI course right here, Richmond Hilly. I would say if you want something that's just full gas, like the whole way through,
it's incredible. Yeah.
It's a little bit more just comes at you. This one's a little bit more tactical, flatter sections, of course, because Richmond Hilly, it's never stops coming at you. So
I agree. When you look at the regular Richmond UCI course, there's a lot of flat on that course, right? Which is, for some riders, they don't enjoy having that kind of getting through that. But here, racing in Yorkshire, it is relentless. I mean, it just keeps coming at you, and it seems like there's very little recovery for all of the work that you're doing. That's for sure.
question coming in from one of our Twitch viewers saying Innsbruck. Innsbruck, I mean, you can definitely
I can
play on Innsbruck a little bit with the pack, but it's a little bit more difficult to try and really just make the race super, super hard. A lot of times there's a lot of drafting on there, unless you just jump into the climbs. So that is a little bit different situation. In the women's race, we do have some attacks taking place as they head on through toward the sprint section. We did see Adachi Van Halen and Arce battling it out for a moment. Still 3 up, though, amongst them all together in the women's race here at their 12.7 kilometer mark at 19 minutes into their race as they look to start their second lap. In the men's race, though, Electric Spirit Company, as you can see out the front now, making a little bit of, not a move, but just making sure they're controlling the front end of this. It looks like things have really calmed down amongst this men's race here at this point. And we actually have Fuller from the Dirt team bringing things back now because of that. Team Vegan as well with a large group back here. I don't think they're going to see the front of this race again, but it definitely speaks to how much things have calmed down at the front of this race as they're kind of watching each other after that first lap. We saw this in the last race as well, too. A calming, right? And then Tugels went to the front at this point, actually.
Actually, yeah, really interesting when you look at how every race has its surges and then backing off a little bit. And ultimately, a rider like, the difference makers out there, like Leonard Tugels, when they go, that's the moment in the race. And I think we're waiting for that moment right now as the guy's out on lap number 2.
Brantes, now we did say that Virtus is going to be the team to be watching out for, and it looks like they're doing just that here at the front end of this race now. Nunez now just sitting in, controlling the pace, it looks like, at 3.3 watts per kilogram. So I have a feeling they're trying to get Brantes off the front here with Reese.
This is going to be a great experience for the Portuguese team, talking about Veritat VS as, they've got 3 really strong riders who've made this front group. It's tactically, they're playing a high-speed chess match out here, and it'll be fun to watch how things play out for them as we take a look here at 2 riders that are starting to open up an advantage, Nathan. When it goes over 5 seconds, things change a little bit, don't they? And that's where we're at right now, looking at 6 seconds here for Reese and Abrantes.
Yeah, it looks like this might be able to stick too. Now, looking behind, though, Cramner here, 67 kilometers per hour. We're seeing 69 kilometers per hour. Looking at the speeds, I have a feeling that this pack, looking to match. It looks like it's not actually coming back as the Brontes kicks up in the orange numbers here. These guys got to be careful if they let this slip away. I think there's a little bit too much confidence in this group that it's just going to come back easily here as Reese and Abrantes kick up in the orange numbers. It is going to be that 7 watts per kilogram for a moment. Devola now says enough is enough here. We got to go across. 8.6 coming from him. And he's getting a gap on the rest of the field. And it looks like he wants to make this move to get across. You put these three in an attack, and this is a situation. Now, Calcutta sees this as a threat, wants to get involved as well, and now all the moves are going to start happening.
This is a big moment right here, folks. If Devola goes across, this really is a power shift. And you can see the response is going to come back from the chase group here. So here we go. Very dynamic moment right now. Devola's going to play some cards, and this will change everything. So he's going to make contact now. Does this gap remain? It looks like we're going to have 4 riders coming together. So they really split that front group basically right down the middle. And I think this is where everybody then has to start scraping the bottom of the barrel. And I have a feeling this all comes back together. But that was all initiated by Devola. And now the attack's going up and over the top here. This is really an exciting moment in the race right now.
Look at Electric Spirit Company trying to do something at the front, but they just don't have the power at this point. Reese there, 6.4 watts per kilogram at the front end of this, not of this pack, but of the front group, continuing on at 47 kilometers per hour. Look at Electric Spirit Company, 46 kilometers per hour, 45 actually going down as it continues to go up here with the speed here from this front group. They are starting to walk away, and if they start working very well together,
the split.
Virat VS here now. With 2 involved, they're not going to have any kind of chase from Nunez. It's going to be up to Jet and Electric Spirit Company. Nielsen, I just don't think has the power left in the legs. Angel as well. And Hoj from DBR, it's gone. It is gone at this point, I think.
Yeah, and 2 of the riders from, you know what, Nathan, until I learn better, I'm just going to go with the Veriat team as Abrantes and Veriat Abrantes and Calceda here. The 2 riders, they've got Devola. He was the rider that really helped us really define how this race is going to play out right now, because when he went across, I was surprised that the others weren't able to completely shut this down. But now this gap might be the move of the day as it's starting to go up. Watch that time advantage there. It's been sitting at 5, but now we're starting to see numbers that are higher than that. So here we go. Buckle up, folks. A front group is splitting here right at the middle part of this race. Again, 3 laps for 42K out here. And this is a big moment.
Nielsen tried to get across a little bit there, at least push the pace to shut things down. Now Reese there at the front at 9 watts per kilogram. This is going to come back together with enough bodies to maybe get some high speeds on the downhill. 81, 86 kilometers per hour. Let's see what it maxes out at. It looks like it's going to be about 88 or so. Cramner and the rest here. Where are they going to max out on the speeds? 86, 86. Not quite as high there from what we saw on the speeds. Maybe at the front with Nielsen was up in 88 for a moment. They did bring it back within 5 seconds. Can they punch here? Devola now up into 5 watts per kilogram. They're calming down at the front. These riders could work together on this little bit of a climb. This is a section of course here right now. It's a long enough climb. You can set a pretty steady high pace at the front and slowly ebb away at any kind of break that's not too far up the road. There's an opportunity here, but they've got to really commit before we hit that next KOM. Otherwise, I think this is absolutely gone. Nielsen now up in 8 watts per kilogram. He's going to jump across, it looks like. He, I believe, is going to make it. Not sure anybody else is going to go with him, though.
Wow. Yeah, this is really going from station to station right now. And look at the numbers there as Nielsen up over 10 watts per kilo. That's what it took. I don't know. It looks like another rider is trying. It's going to be Nunes, isn't it? Another one of the Veriat riders looking to make it 3 up in the front group. So it looks like the Rats leaving the sinking ship right now. When you talk about that chase, as if you're strong enough, it looks like you're leaving.
Looks like that's exactly what's happening. I am getting a little chat coming in here. Doom Nukin saying that it's Veritas. Veritas is what I'm getting over in chat.
Veritas means truth, right? I don't know that that's Veritas, but I mean, it's not spelled that way.
Veritas? I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but
yeah, me either.
Doom Nukin thinks that it's Veritas. We'll see if he's right.
Well, I'll go with that.
For now, I don't mind saying
if he wants to take responsibility, sure.
Wes here from Oral 7 now setting in, and he's been able to get a little bit of a free ride for the last K or so, I think, as he's allowed a few of the other riders to do some work. as Diavola was coming across.
Well,
And Abrantes, it looks like Nunez got back
so
involved. Now we've got 3 up from one team, and everybody else is isolated.
well, and Nathan, as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, when you are in this situation where you're in a 6-rider group and 3 riders are all on the same team and you're not one of them, it takes a lot to get you to hit the front and take a pull like Reese is right now. As a matter of fact, this would I would say be ill-advised at this point. Definitely sit on for a little bit and let them establish the gap. Let them burn some matches here. They're the guys that have a huge advantage right now.
I mean, they can just
So,
throw bodies off the front over and over again with 3 riders.
Yeah, I mean, so by setting tempo for them right now, all you're doing is bringing the inevitable closer to the finish line, which is going to be an onslaught of attacks coming from the. Are we going to go with Veritas just for the heck of it? Why not?
Yeah, we'll just see. We'll leave it at that for now. And
so the Veritas team, again, 3 riders. That's the white jerseys up in this front group. This is something in cycling that is incredibly ominous. Actually, though,
they're using 3 different kits. I think they're using.
Yeah, it's some different kits, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got this Zwift kit going on here, and then we've got the Abrantes is hanging out in the white.
Reese is in the blue. That's the World Elite Zwifter kit, that blue and orange. So that's one rider you can eliminate.
And then Nunez is hanging out in the Soigneur. So those are the 3 riders there identified there from the Veritas team. Fusion ACT
with the pink socks or magenta socks, whatever it is.
There we go. Oh, do we actually have Electric Spirit Company pulling this back together? They kind of calmed down, it looks like. Only 7 seconds at this point. I say only on a climb like this. That'll go up.
They're going to come at least, it looks like at least one Thorpe in this case is going to make it up. I'm actually a little surprised to see them back in the conversation here. That's how you do it.
Calcutta went so incredibly hard though that first time over the top, and now we're seeing not the same orange numbers here. 185 beats per minute. I think that first lap and the kind of pace that they sent, as well as getting away with that breakaway, they may have drawn a little bit too much into the bank. The withdrawal might have gone a little bit into the negative here, and they're trying to find that energy to bring it back positive at this point. But Calcutta now kicking again. That's going to give Thorpe a really hard time to get back on terms. It is splitting the group a little bit here as Nielsen tries to hang on. Here come the Aero power-ups because orange numbers at the front. It is going to be Calcutta, Diavola, Abrantes all going. Nunez now just barely able to hang on, and that Aero power-up is going to help do that. We may have a 3-up with 1 rider actually still involved from not Veritas. So 3 riders, Veritas might be breaking away for this situation.
This course is so hard, Nathan, that it really brings out great racing. And this race is starting to look a little bit like the finale that we saw from the European Central race that just wrapped up a few minutes ago, where it was a wild affair out there. And to be honest, at this point, this is just smash mouth bike racing because there is no peloton. There is no, it's not quite every man for himself, as you could see with the Veritas team, the Portuguese riders. They've got some, a band of brothers going on out here with multiple riders up in this. It isn't even a front group anymore, Nathan. I mean, it is every man for himself. They are left, right, and center here.
Vola needs to go now. He cannot allow Veritas to
get up in the wheels.
Yeah, 58 kilometers per hour. Okay. 63, they're still pedaling. If he super tucks now, maybe be able to reserve a little bit of something. Vola now getting smart about it, reserving. These boys up front are still pedaling, actually. So I think it's within 2 seconds, and he's got that 6 watts per kilogram. There it is, back up to 57.
This was not a small field that we started with. It wasn't a huge field, but it was right down the middle. Nathan, if I told you that this was the midpoint of the bike race, wouldn't that be pretty hard to believe? This looks like we're into the final K right now with the way these riders are just having at it. They are slaying themselves here. And at this point now, there is no recognizable group anywhere near the front of this bike race. It looks like right now as these two are just working their way through the final third of the second lap. So they'll be getting the bell with 1 circuit remaining. This is going to be interesting. So it's Veritas rider, the man who really started this whole thing, Calceda, along with Abrantes. So these two teammates, then Divola, the DPAC elite rider from Belgium, is trying to join. But these two, even though they're not the same kit, these are teammates that we've got here on the front.
Yeah, and I just want to speak real quickly as well to the reality that DPAC Elite are a Zwift. They I mean, I'm this is crazy. Like I can't believe what's happening here right now with this DPAC Elite rider because he's one of the strongest riders in the world of Zwift racing. They've I mean,
I think
getting
Fabian
dropped by
comes back.
Veritas. Like
I have a feeling he comes back into this, make this a group of three, Nathan. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, but I am with you 100%. This is, again, we have seen some stunning performances today. We're witnessing another.
yeah, absolutely crazy to see here. And
Isn't it?
DPAC Elite, they made it into premier division at this point. They are at the highest level here, and this just speaks to the reality of this Veritas team, I think. And I would be saying if I didn't see all of the Zada verifications on their profiles, be like, all right, well, who are these guys? What's going on? I mean, they're dropping one of the fastest riders in the reality of Zwift racing in league, or at least from the community from ZRL. And I think what we said at the beginning of the broadcast when we started noticing these guys, they're here to show up and put their mark on the world of esports, and they're showing us exactly why. Look at how this tactic here, even how they played out. And now they've got
they know what they're doing. Yeah, no, these guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, and Nathan, I want to reiterate what you were just saying. Is these guys are not showing up, a bunch of Z Power unknowns. I mean, they've, as far as I can tell here, it looks like this is as legit as you could hope for. And this is a team that I would expect. Now, I haven't seen them in Zwift community yet, but when they arrive, they are going to have a huge impact. Again, we're talking earlier in this broadcast about Portugal is a nation that is coming on strong in esports, and this is a really good example of that.
Interesting. I had a message actually that was telling me that Portugal was showing up with some crazy riders actually that watch out. And the PTZ team was saying that they were going to show up with a whole lot of talent, and now we've got this Veritas as well.
And
so,
Nathan, I'm sure you've been doing this for a long time, and I'm sure that you've had plenty of people give you that type of heads up, and it turned out to be nothing to it as well, right? Where people maybe think they're witnessing something incredible, and it's there's a lot of really strong riders here, but that sounds like someone who gave you a pretty good tip to me.
Yeah, well, BJ Alfonso is who it was. One of the longest.
It was B. I was just going to say, was his name BJ?
Yeah. So BJ Alfonso, one of the longest standing Portugal. One of the first, the guy who started PTZ, the guy who one of the first kits in game. With PTZ way back. The original PTZ kit has the Vision logo on it. I mean, this is old school. And he came to me. He was like, "Hey, can you confirm what you're streaming tomorrow? What's going on?" Da da da. And it was like, yeah, here's what's happening with the classics. And he's like, all right, well, watch out because we'll be focused. Watch out, be focused on these time zone. We're going to have a pretty big representation. And I'm wondering if this Veritas is kind of also a response. I'm not sure if they were or an offshoot or a response to like, hey, Portugal's got some strong Zwifting going on, and they know each other kind of, and bam, they show up to kind of throw down amongst guys that they know. So, Brantes, Calcada,
you know what?
Vola.
I'm going to make a guess here, Nathan. So the Veritas question. Well, I'm going to guess that the Veritas, what we're looking at the Portuguese version of that word, which means truth.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot.
It does make sense when you start connecting the dots here. Because that would be a cool team name, actually, without a doubt. So, well, you see the Portuguese flag, get used to it. I have a feeling we're going to be very familiar with quite a few of these names, like Abrantes here, pretty quickly. Certainly, Fabian Devola is at this point, as the Belgian rider has been chasing hard. But Nathan, he's giving up a little bit of ground to these two. They're relaying each other quite well, swapping pulls as they should, and they're down to one circuit remaining, one to go here as they roll through Harrogate.
Abrantes now, it looks like Calcutta fading a little bit to 4.4 watts per kilogram. I'm wondering if they, Diavola's got a really high FTP. And I'm 5-1 on the front now. I'm seeing the fading of the effort just a little bit at 189 beats per minute. And Vola, he may be able to
sort of settling.
Down.
I think they're just kind of settling into an effort myself, but it's staying at 16 seconds.
Now. They are going into 5-2. I was wondering if that little bit of a lag there for a second was maybe a sign, but no, you're right. It is starting to ramp right back up as they head into this climb. Evola would need to throw down 6 watts per kilogram over the top of this. I don't think that's in the legs at this point. 300 watts, 184 beats per minute. It does look like it's going to be enough to hold off the chase group, perhaps. But even there, this is a large group here that's going to get a lot of speed on these downhills.
And we got a long way to go. Yeah,
full lap.
This is where, if you're Devola, right, are you racing for the win or racing to a podium spot? He's going to have to decide, because if he's racing for the win, it's going to be a very tough target to hit. But if he does, odds are pretty good that he gets caught by this group, and then, there goes the podium. So you see that in the Tour de France right now a lot, Nathan, where riders have to start evaluating, am I going to try to consolidate a top 5, a top 10 spot, or am I going to take some risks and try to move up in the overall? And it's the same thing on a day like today. Are you racing for third? And if so, there's one tactic. If you're racing for the win, there's another. That's for sure. But remembering that racing for the win might be a 1 in 25 chance right now. And it's, here we go. So thank you, Magnus. First of all, Nathan, nice find here. So certainly some of the racers out there are aware of how talented these guys are. They've been putting them in the hurt locker.
Yeah, good to see. Good information there to let us know that they were racing in the Zwift
thanks,
Racing
Magnus.
League. Yeah, big help there. And I'd be watching out for these guys. They are definitely putting their mark out here if they're taking down one of the top esports teams that were able to make it into the Premier League this past season. So Calcutta and Abrantes, they're on a 2-man TTT at this, or team time trial essentially at this point. And I don't think they're coming back. 192 beats per minute. This is some serious suffering.
Wow.
192, I think that's the highest heart rate I've seen this year. I mean, that's full max. And now he's just setting it at 192, it seems like.
Nathan, I consider this or file this under a good problem to have. But with Zwift ZRL and the community racing, Martin and the WTRL team have done such an incredible job of building that league that we're at the point now where between Premier and community and literally, what are we at? Let's say 10,000 racers participating. It's nearly impossible to be aware of every team, and you are covering more of this racing than anybody by a long shot. A bunch of us jump in like Kate and Anna and myself to help you, but you're doing all of the broadcasts. But even then, when you look at Europe, the European East and West, there's a good, half of the racers come out of those two time zones. And it is real. I mean, a team like Veritas here, it might take a little while for them to show up on my radar. You would certainly notice them before I would. But again, if they're just getting into ZRL in season 3, they've got a ladder to climb before they end up in Premier. But I expect that they will climb that ladder with what we're looking at here today.
And that's part of the whole idea here, too, I think, with not only the new AutoCat system, but also what WTRL has been up to with looking to find that discovery. Sport is all about climbing the ladder in a lot of ways if you do have those aspirations. And WTRL has helped to create that ladder. It didn't really exist before in any kind of way. It was more of a selection process, rather than a the selection process was
merit,
identify
merit-based. right? Like,
Exactly. Identify,
yeah,
oh, this looks like, or this looks like, this looks like, and these are the top teams. It's like, no, now through results and through climbing that ladder and providing that opportunity. And as you said, it will take more time because you have seasons to work through and you got to start at the bottom. I mean, I can't just jump on the road and say, I want to race 1-2, right? Now,
no, and everyone wants it that way. I completely agree
I
with
had a
you,
pro license
Nathan.
and I had to race 4.5s. I had a pro license on the mountain bike and I had to race 4.5s. On cyclocross, they gave me a pass and gave me, I think, like a 2 because it's on dirt. But like, you can't just come on over and be like, oh, I'm this person. Like, there's a reality now that you've got to earn your place here, and it's going to take a little time. And Veritas it looks like are doing exactly that. And the same thing with
I
Aeonian. The story with Aeonian, the story
Yes,
with Deepak, even like we see that over and over again now.
even Beast Mode or Sports Solid, BZR, they had to come out of the community and race there to move up. And Nathan, I really, when I first met you, I really appreciated your support of the Zwift community, and I felt like there was a time when uh, so not merit based, but rather based on, hey, this person is famous or this person is well known in the sport of road racing. Let's move them right up to the top of the queue in esports. And that rarely worked out. It turned out that the athletes that have been putting in the time, racing in the community, and really committing to esports racing, they had a huge advantage on those that showed up based on, hey, I heard she's a great or he's a great racer. And ultimately, the proof is in the pudding. And this is a very unique discipline of racing. And yeah, a lot of this is incredibly similar to racing in real life. But there's some elements of esports that are unique to esports. And not everybody is cut out for this. This is, in a lot of ways, Nathan, esport racing to me takes more dedication than in real life racing. I mean, not that one is better than the other, but they both have some things that are incredibly hard to overcome to be successful. And
A little bit of
you're
a
not comparing apples and apples.
no, you're not. And a point on that is you look at the top end of the Premier Division where it's all on the line, and the reality is that is esports teams. You don't see the top teams being the teams that are from in real life. We have in real life pro teams looking to get into esports, and they're not competing at the level of Canyon Esports, the level of Stars to Pros Closet, I mean,
Agreed.
Hino. 2024 is one example I
That
would
might
say
be the
that is
only team.
the exception,
That might be,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's because
Tibco.
Nicola Cramner full gas went into it, though. Tibco as well. So on the women's side of things, we do see a little bit more, but Hino still dominate. They're unstoppable.
And to be honest, we're not at a point where they're even really being challenged yet. That might change in season 4, but yeah, your points are really valid. Going back to pick up the racing here, Nathan, the women are out on their last lap as well. This group of 3 here, including Adachi, the Japanese rider on the Jet team. Very impressive to up here. She's hanging right in there with Marina Arce of the Aeonian team that you were just mentioning. I'll be honest, Nathan. I think that Aeonian story is one of the best in esports, to tell you the truth. Talk about building a grassroots program up to being competitive in Premier League. That is exactly how you do it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely awesome to see how these teams have developed out here. Ionian race team, inclusive women's e-racing team. Obviously, they want to promote women's
And all the
cycling.
levels, right? Where
Every
they're
single
very
level.
open. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, absolutely awesome. And Marina Arce, she's one of the strongest riders in the world of Zwift racing. She's um, champion, actually a national champion. It looks like 2014 Elite, 2016, 2017, and also XCM Master 2021. So national champion. So she's no joke. This Marina Arce, coming out of Argentina. So
Yeah,
um,
there's
crazy,
a
crazy
bit of,
strong athlete.
yeah, I agree. I mean, so in this front group, you've got 3 different continents represented here. Japan with Asia, United States here in North America, and then Argentina from South America. That speaks to what Zwift is all about.
Looking through here, she's also is it, I don't my Spanish isn't great. It looks like she's also a mom in 2019, which is absolutely awesome to come back has a baby and then comes back in 2021 to win the
That's
XC
Marina.
marathon. Yeah, yeah,
That's
Arce.
huh.
Absolutely awesome.
Boy, have we learned on the women's side of esports how just incredible these ladies are. The stories of, I mean, I remember when I first picked up on it, Nathan, covering races with you last summer, and I was like, this is just mind blowing. When you look at like, I think Laura Matson Coe was one of the first riders that caught my attention. I'm like, you're telling me that she is doing surgery in the morning, racing esports in the afternoon, and is a mom making dinner? It made me feel like I'm not doing enough. That's for sure.
That's the beauty though of this platform, right? Is you can just jump on and
Well, for
compete
time
against the
crunched
highest
people.
level. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It is one of the beauty and be able to race at the highest level and the support of women's racing too, that is out there now with it and the platform that it provides is a whole
It's
new level
awesome.
that's never been seen before. So, and a big shout out to Zwift and their support. 4 years main
I
sponsor of the women's Tour de France. Is
Nathan, I got to be honest. I've worked in cycling for most of my adult life, right? Even before that, I worked in bike shops when I was a kid. I have never worked with a company that has been more supportive and honestly doing it for all the right reasons for women's sport than Zwift by a long shot. It's an incredibly good feeling to work with a group of people that have that mindset, that are progressive, and really the Tour de France that you're just mentioning is really a cherry on top of a cake that's been baked up for a long time. It's been baked into the Zwift corporate culture. I saw Eric Min right before we came on air. Won some type of inclusion corporate award. It was actually on LinkedIn that I saw it. But I thought, wow, I'm glad people are recognizing that, because that has been part of the culture of Zwift that has made a massive, massive difference in the world of sport. I mean, a Tour de France, a legit Tour de France for women, has been something that we have been waiting for. I mean, I realize it's happened multiple times, going all the way back to the 50s, but this one really has a whole different energy to it. And a lot of thanks goes to the decision makers at Zwift, Steve and Eric and James and that team. They're doing some incredible things for women's sports. They're doing incredible things for sport in general. But by lifting up women's sport, you're improving sport for everyone.
No, we did just see the catch back into the racing here, Dave. 100% agree there, obviously, and it's so amazing what is happening here for women's sport. Now, look,
Can you
probably,
believe this catch was made?
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, this is well. I mean, if he could have stayed with those boys, and now Brante's here on a little bit of a kick. It looks like Calcutta dropping him at this point wouldn't be the thing to do, I don't think. But
no.
I
Well, what's
39 seconds, no way, right?
They're not
39
coming
seconds,
back.
almost a
They're in a
minute at
different
this
postal
point.
code now. Yeah.
Over the top. That's going to go way out actually here. And it looks like Calcutta getting dropped though. As Veritas now are going to have to maybe try and get back together here. Brante's now backs off.
What is Nathan, your experience with a teammate at this point, with the 40-second advantage? You realize that you're going to be taking gold and silver out of that group. Do you start to race against each other for the fun of it? Or I guess it would depend on your relationship in the team, wouldn't it?
If
On
there's
what you
no
do here.
communication between us, then I just start racing this person. Like I definitely, if there's communication between you, that'd be a different story. Let's keep working together or whatever. But if the person's been totally quiet, if they take a punch at me, then it's game on. If there's any,
They draw their sword, you're
if
ready to
there's
go.
any aggression, then I'm like, okay, fine, really. I'm all in, and the way to do this this is the way I race on Zwift is I just would continue to open gaps over and over and over and over again. Like, no, you're not going to sit on my wheel. Anytime I'm in front, I am doing orange numbers to get you off my wheel. If I'm not doing that, I'm sitting on your wheel. So that would be my tactic
So
is at this point just nonstop attacking this person because they have to. If you get the gap, they do have to respond to you. and their heart rate and their recovery will always be 2 seconds behind, 3 seconds behind yours, which makes you ahead of the game on every single attack. And they have to do the same effort. So because of then it's not like you're wasting effort because they're not getting anything from anyone else. See? So it's like you're draining their tank, you're draining yours, you're going to run equal playing grounds. Then if they're the stronger rider at the end of the day, then they're the stronger rider.
They say, Nathan, that fortune favors the bold, right? And I think that speaks to exactly what you were just saying. In these kind of situations, the aggressor so often comes out on top here. Now, again, I have a feeling these two are going to work together all the way to the finish. I think back in my day, maybe I would say, let's take it down to 1K to go, and then let's race each other. Let's just make absolutely sure that we're going to get first and second here on the team. But again, this isn't part of a series. This is a classic, so it's a standalone event that we're racing here today. And certainly the spirit of bike racing and what this sport is all about is that competitive vibe that you get. And it's certainly, Nathan, I expect that they sprint against each other, but it looks to me like they're going to work together here all the way at least until that last right-hand turn that takes you into the finishing stretch.
Yeah, and here are a couple more points on the line here for the sprint on the day. Veritas showing us what they're all about.
Not contested, though. This tells you a lot right here. They're rolling
exactly.
together. Yeah.
Good point there, Dave. Good point. Not contested at all. 193 beats per minute, though. I mean,
they're completely committed. Yeah.
I mean, at 3.3 watts per kilogram, even though, I mean, that is a really high heart rate. They have put everything on the line at this point. If we had, I actually wish we had a little bit of a post-race interview, but I have a feeling that they have really drained the tank with those kinds of numbers right now.
Well, I think it's time to say Viva Portugal. That's for sure. What an outstanding performance we've witnessed today from the Veritas team. And as time goes on, that has become completely Veritas to me. So my initial pushback there is now I've completely given up on fighting at the power here. No doubt that's Veritas. They are the truth. Look at the speed starting to pick up now as Humpton for Electric Spirit Company is going to, or I'm adding the company, Electric Spirit is the team there in orange. Torre, the bull for Team Vegan, they're in green. Throttle all the way open.
Actually, right now, Torre is usually over on Twitch. Actually, for most of his, he's definitely streaming at this moment. Let's see if maybe we can bring it on in. This is going to be the final moments for him. I'll see if we can get that in here in just a moment here. But this is going to be for the third place out there as the Veritas were able to break away. They have brought it back to 30 seconds. There's just not enough landscape though at this point, and Veritas still up in the 4.4 watts per kilogram or so. They can't calm down too much though. There is a reality still here that you got to press on.
Yeah, and I realize that this is a 3-lap race, Nathan, but if this was a 4-lap race, I have a feeling things would really change. But these guys have played their cards perfectly here. We're looking at your winning duo, gold and silver, rolling along as they now at this point, they get to race against each other if they choose to. I've seen plenty of teammates that didn't want to sprint against each other as well. So there's Reese, again, showing back up at the front. You can see all kinds of surging going on right now. And that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be Torre's live stream right now. He is over on Twitch. He's got a pretty good following over there. He streams almost every day. He actually streams with his partner as well. A side-by-side, pretty cool training setup that they do have for their Twitch stream. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. Team Vegan hammering away out here over on Twitch. And this is going to be the main pack. And you can see Tori right here. So that is the current situation with about 1.1K to go for that group. Back in at the front with Veritas. They're about to hit that final kick now.
That's it.
We'll jump back in with Torre in just a moment here. But solid effort here by this Veritas crew. Maybe going to give it to a Brontes. We'll have to wait and see. As 12 watts per kilogram looks like a Brontes is going to take it.
That was it.
Giving it. Yeah, that's said and done.
I think this is the can we kick it? Yes, we can moment as a Brontes will be your champion here in Yorkshire. I think that Viva Portugal is certainly appropriate. This was a heck of a ride today from the Veritas team. And I will say, gentlemen, you are officially on my radar as a team to watch here in the world of Zwift and esports. Congratulations on a great ride today.
Solid effort
favors the
all
bold.
around for sure. Going to see if we can actually. Torre's having a solid ride here, making his way through.
In the green. Here we go.
In the green there. And look at this. This is the lower right here as well. Solid kick. He's got a drafting power up. He's in the lead at this point. Not going to be able to hold on, though. There it is to the line. And it's going to be fading as it's going to be Diavola. I mean, Fabian's always got that kick. I think he's going to come out. Oh, Nunes, though. Oh,
Nunes.
I think Nunes did it. That was so close.
That's
was
a 1, 2, 3.
Right there. Oh, my gosh. I'm looking through. And
wow. Oh, man. I mean, Fabian is one of the better closers out there. The Belgian rider.
He is. He's one of the best. He is
Yeah.
one of the best out there. So that was. We'll go ahead and bring this back in. We do have Torre in the as we had him on the stream there for a moment, but as he faded, we'll take him down, and then it's going to be Diavola right to the line here. Right neck and neck with Nunez. And as we look and see, I'm going to back that up just a tad.
That'll go to the back end API.
Yeah, because even if Nunez's wheel on our screen was there, we don't have the best camera angle for it. So,
yeah. Still, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
What a great day of racing.
On the board there, you do see it is Nunez on the ahead on the board actually at that moment. So it's most likely him. And so that means it's 1, 2, 3 podium actually.
Good
if
for
that's
them.
True for Veritas. What a move there.
Well, thank you, BJ. BJ Alonso with the hot tip today.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Well,
racing.
Nathan, today was a great day of racing. It really was. It felt good to be back on Tuesdays. This is typically our ZRL community day, and I felt like that's exactly where we arrived, was back with the community. So fantastic racing. I can't believe that we just did 3 different time zones of racing. It feels like, obviously, I've been hungry to get back to the racing because this went by in a snap.
Long day of broadcasting, long day of racing. Now, there is more racing to do. We will not have a broadcast for them, but the Americas is still happening. Head on over to WTRL if you want to race in the Americas and check that out, as that is the place to sign up for.
So I can't wait to see your take on the Apple lap for next week. I will learn a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say, it
ain't easy.
That is a challenge. No, it's not. That is a very challenging course. The same thing has happened over and over again, and it's not just a sprint in the pack to the line. So, and one of the situations, I was actually in the race. So I was actually in the race and watched it walk away from me. So
happens to the best of us. Even,
yeah,
sounds like.
Yeah. So. Let's go ahead and take a quick look here at the results for the race that we just watched, and this is how it played out. Well, here is the results board. If you are looking for all the points, first across the line and segments and all that, head over to WTRL.racing. But it was Abrantes across the line there with a 58.09, followed up by his teammate Calcata. They were in a breakaway together and able to hold off the chasing pack. Diavola, actually, I was wrong. Fabian just held onto it. Good job to Deepak Elite. Not able to take down a 3-up podium, so Nunez ends up in 4th. Simon Nielsen for 5th. It's going to be A. Thorpe there for 6th. S. Adder there coming on through for 7th. J. Reese there for 8th. It's going to be Andrade for 9th. And then the Bull, Torre, and for Vegans, he comes on through for 10th. The women are still out on course. We're going to leave them to finish up, but it is going to be Marina Arce versus Van Houweling. We might be able to jump in with them for just a moment. How much racing do they have left here? I'm just going to double check here real quick and see how that's playing out between them. They were able to drop off, it looks like. Adachi has just gotten back on terms We'll go ahead and jump on in there. They're about to finish up the race. We definitely want to support the women's racing.
Yeah, they
and
to
and
give
this
them a
is
lot of credit. This is a
right
tough
down to the
day.
line here. I mean, they just came over the Queen of the Mountain here, Dave. 3.74 watts per kilogram, actually. Pro Vision. And the Jet Rider, Adachi, just came back, actually, to this front group. Or these
All
two.
right, so let's go ahead and as we pick this one up, we were talking about the Aeonian rider. I love that kit. That was well earned, and you can see that Marina is the rider right on the back of the group right now. We were mentioning Adachi here, the Japanese rider who Nathan was just pointing out had just rejoined the group, so showing a lot of heart out there. We just watched this finale for the guys. As a matter of fact, Nathan, I got to give the women credit here. They didn't have the advantage of the peloton and the dynamic, and they have actually gotten through this course quite quickly. Looks like we've got an attack going right now.
Looking for some points, it looks like. RC's got 12 watts per kilogram. She continues. Is she going to get it? She's going to get it.
Looks like it.
Oh, and now will she continue over the top? Because I think Van Halen faded there at the end. That means that she's struggling right now, but no, 5.3, 5.2. Adachi's gone. This is a 2 up at this point. They're so far gone. 58 kilometers per hour, 59. Gone.
Look at Liz Van Houweling, though. Fighting back.
Amazing effort here between these women. I'm loving this head-to-head. It's kind of it's a different kind of racing, but it definitely gets, when you have this parity between the riders, it definitely gets a little bit more interesting rather than just some riders walking away here. Liz Van Houweling is also a mountain biker. Interesting. This is mountain bike versus mountain bike, actually.
So, and so obviously, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, Van Houweling is so Molly Van Houweling, which I'm not sure if Molly took her husband's last name, so this would be her sister-in-law, or if she, her maiden name is Van Houweling, and this is her sister. But either way, Liz is super impressive out here, keeping the Van Houweling name on the top of the headlines here. Marina Arce is the Argentinian rider in the blue and magenta. I don't know what color. How about this? The yellow Tron bike. That'll make it easier.
Yeah. As Provision Racing here now with Van Houweling. I'm not sure she has the same kick as Arce. She may, but what I saw from Marina there just a moment ago tells me that Van Houweling needs to break Arce sooner than later. Needs to make this more of a long, drawn-out sprint, perhaps, or bait her to the front, perhaps. This is going to have to be some tactics. I'm going to look a little at the pure numbers. 11.6 we're seeing versus 12.8. So it is a full watt per kilogram over the top there. And across the board, it looks about in that range, actually. Marina is just showing a little bit more fitness. But Van Houweling, you can have good days on the bike. The stats don't always say it all when you show up and have a really good day. So Van Houweling definitely not out of this, obviously. You got to be proof in the pudding to the line.
So it's always possible that the Van Houwelings, there's not related, but Liz Van Houweling lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and is a cycling coach there. So obviously committed to the sport of cycling for quite a while.
Into the
I have to admit,
here.
I'm super curious.
As to who and what, yeah.
Oh, yeah, what her relationship is to Molly, or if one exists. That a lot of times it turns out there's nothing, there's no there.
It might just be nothing, yeah. And I was thinking that. I was like, there may be you went into this whole family relationship, and there might be absolutely nothing going on there at all.
Different Van Houweling family, right? Well, here we go, Nathan. These two get a real showdown. 2-rider sprint.
Look at Adachi almost coming back with an arrow power up, and it's 5 seconds out. But what an effort here coming from Adachi. I mean, she is never giving in.
She's closing this down, Nathan. And I think Van Houweling has said, I'm not going to wait around for that. Liz Van Houweling gets out. Now we get to find out what Marina Arce has. And Arce now, well, she's going to come level, but we're still 2 riders. And now, when does she launch? Well, it looks like Marina is just going to
and she's got
and
an
hit it
arrow
hard.
power up.
There
There's
she
no
goes.
no way
Bye-bye.
responding to that. 11 watts per kilogram, and that's
think-
why she's a top squad Aeonian rider now. And
That was
Marina
our that was the
champion.
adios moment. We'll see you later, Marina. Adios.
Absolutely. Still amazing ride there by Van Halen. And Adachi, the never give up attitude. Absolutely
job.
love it there from her. From the Jet team, her teammate Endo will be taking fourth on the day. I also want to give a shout out. I noticed Adachi does have a good kick. I think she was out doing some track racing, perhaps, or she's a runner. I think she's a runner. So she's out doing like 400s and stuff from what I can see. She's got her Strava profile linked. So, yeah. Adachi, we're seeing a lot of these runners transfer over to the bike actually and have a solid kick a lot of times, or at least are really, really, really able to go into that pain cave.
I think that the background, like Michael Woods, the guy who's been in the King of the Mountains jersey at Tour de France, the ability that
What do you think's going to happen
threshold,
there, Dave? What do you think is going to happen there? I mean, I've been watching and I'm like, man, he just doesn't have the kick over
like
those
Wout
flatter
is-
climbs. And yeah, it does look
Yeah.
like Wout is maybe walking, and he looks like he's fading a little bit, but I'm rooting for Michael. I think he might get a rest day in, see how the legs respond. You know,
So listen, right now with Sepp Kuss winning the other day, Sepp raced for a team called the Gateway Harley Davidson team, which is out of St. Louis, which is a junior development or a development program for U23 riders out of St. Louis.
I recognize his name and results. I recognize when he was racing mountain bikes. All
he
of a
was
sudden,
a
there's this
mountain
kid,
biker.
and I was like, "Who are you?"
Oh, he was
like, because
he
I've
was
raced
lining
with
up
him
behind you.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
and then I look in a few years later, you get this thing in your mind, oh, I've raced with him. No, you haven't, Nathan. He was 15.
Oh, yeah, you have.
Well, I have, but I mean, at the level though, like, as he gets,
Well, what's
amazing
crazy
result.
is you raced with one of the best in the world when he was 17 and 18 years old, right? Now he's 26 years old, and he's literally winning the Queen stage of the Tour de France. It doesn't get better than that. But yeah, it's just such a great time to be a cycling fan on so many different levels. And it's nice to see the people that have supported these riders getting to celebrate, what we're witnessing here. And going back to Michael Woods, the Canadian, he's got to be one of the most genuinely, Sepp Kuss too, just really good quality human beings. And Mike Woods, the runner, is also a dad. And it's just nice to see good things happening for good people.
Got some comments coming in. What a race. Very hard. Everything going up and down. Had a huge error reaching the end without power up. Looking forward to the next. Tony CID, good to see you out there. And appreciate you jumping into the comments. Provision coming from John Roden. Good to see some of the quality of that team and the cheering out there as well. Great to see Alejandro Morasuti out there cheering on for Marina. And Derek Abbott's coming on in. Appreciate everybody that's been hanging out in the chat. If you want more of this content, you enjoy everything that Zwift Community Live is bringing, we are live on Twitch, YouTube, as well as Facebook. Follow on your favorite platforms. Zwift Classics, it's not done at all because we've still got 7 races to go. It's going to be the Apple Lap next week. Head on over to WTRL.racing for more of that information and sign up for your races. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you Thursday for the WTRL TTT on the Knickerbocker. We'll be focusing on the Mochas. So it's going to be another long broadcast, Dave, with a lot of climbing and a lot of suffering. So appreciate everybody hanging out, and we'll see you soon. As always, everybody, ride on.